Hey y'all, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I'm back with another live, and it's gonna be a good one tonight. Just a quick disclaimer, okay? I'm in a noisy neighborhood. These people are noisy. So really I was trying to get this out the way early because I know it's Saturday night. I was trying to go on ahead and get on here before people get to being loud, acting up, blasting music, TV, all of that. So and I also do apologize. I kept on getting the date and time on this live stream wrong because I kept changing my mind. But guys, I'm here. Hopefully somebody show up because this is gonna be a good one. Tonight I'm gonna be addressing the whole B Taylor, talking about the whole B Taylor, Princella and the Queen Maker fallout again. And the reason why I'm gonna talk about this is because one of my homegirls sent me a video clip of Princella, no, B Taylor doing an interview about Princella with Tasha K. B Taylor just seemed like she's really in her feelings. Also, I was listening to an interview of a Caucasian woman who was pretty much saying a lot of the same stuff that Princella was saying. So I want us to look at that video and digest it. Mind you, I've seen plenty of people outside of this whole gender war relationship space on YouTube say a lot of the same things that Princella has said, especially when you listen to scientists and psychologists. For whatever reason, people have chose to make what Princella is saying a bigger deal than, and I don't know if it's because people don't read books. I don't know if it's because people don't listen to scientists. I don't know if it's because y'all are only, and I don't want to say y'all because maybe my subscribers listen to other people, but I don't know if it's because people only lock into a certain algorithm on YouTube. So when it comes time to watch the educational stuff, people are just ignoring that because I'm just floored at why the stuff that Princella says just seems so extreme. I'm amazed by the fact it's being called extreme. But again, we're gonna get into that. Can y'all please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button as y'all are entering the room, and go ahead and let yourself be known in the chat. Please put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Let me check my settings. Okay. Looks like I sound about okay. But yeah, y'all, let me tell y'all ladies something. These men in Colombia, y'all, I was in a grocery store today and I seen this bad Colombian chick walk in. She had a pretty face, perfect body. You could tell it was surgery because I seen the scars. You know, she had it, but perfect to perfection, baby. Her doctor did his thing. And she was with an American man, right? And the way she looked and the way he looked, I'm like, girl, I can't even believe, I can't believe you walked out with this man. But at the same time, she was taking one for the team. So I couldn't be too, upset at that. And when I tell you, you could tell the energy, like you could tell she did not want to be there with him. She was like kind of bossing him around. He looked miserable. But when I tell you, she left out there with a big old cart full of stuff. And yes, Colombia is cheaper than the United States, but it's like relatively cheaper. Like, to put it in perspective, he would have maybe paid $1,000 for everything that was in that bucket versus he might have only spent like $400 here in Colombia, which she was still breaking bread. So, ladies in foreign countries, they is over here breaking this bread on these women. Okay, don't let them tell you that they not. Don't let them tell you that they not. Okay, don't get played. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the topic of today. Again, remember, let yourself be known in the comments. So I can go ahead and give you a shout out. Hit that like button as you're coming in. Okay, let me go ahead and present my screen. Okay, guys, so this is what it's going to look like today. So, of course, I done gave my opening remarks. We're going to watch that video that B. Taylor did with Tasha K. And I have this other video of this white woman that went on Diary of a CEO that we're going to watch. And then hopefully I can get some of y'all on here by the end of the night. And, we can close this out. I don't plan on being on here for more than an hour and a half. So let's get to it. First of all, let me just say this. I gotta, and this is more of a reminder for myself than my audience, but still, let's remember that when we talk about these things, we got to talk about these things through the lens of compassion. Okay. I have learned that people really do have a capacity cap in understanding. Like, we think that all people should just be able to get it, or that one day they're going to get it. But if that was true, how come everybody doesn't eventually reach the same level of understanding? How come everybody doesn't eventually reach enlightenment? Like, we all have a cap on that. We all have limitations on our understanding, and they're different for everybody. And we all have a point of enlightenment that we'll reach in this lifetime and never go further. Okay. Some people need more experience and preparation in order to understand the things that you probably already understand. Then you got to understand that some people, they just ain't gonna never understand. Like, it's not in them. They don't even have the capability to understand or get it. That's why you have IQ is a real thing. IQ is a real thing. So, and not just that. Again, I'll go back to some people just haven't experienced enough. They need to see things differently. They need to have more of a willingness. So we can't expect people to be at the same place that we are. So again, that's more of a reminder to myself and to my audience, because I really don't want us to just be in here like in the comments dogging nobody out. And I don't want to dog nobody out, even though, let me tell y'all, B. Taylor, she kind of, I'm gonna have to have my patience with her today. Okay. So for those of y'all who don't know what's been going on, first of all, let's talk about who Princella is. If you don't know her, she has a YouTube channel called the High Powered Podcast. And basically, she has this theory, right, that is based in science, psychology, as well as, biology, social science, all of that. She brings a lot of different information together and is able to put it in a way that is more comprehensible to the average person, right? And I have seen her bring on scientists. I have seen her and accredited scientists. I'm talking about scientists who have credentials, have worked at universities, sociologists. So I've seen her go on different platforms. She's not just making her rounds on these podcasts. And I've seen her be able to engage in educated discussion with these people. I've seen these people have respect for her and her opinions, not sit up and be talking to her and be like, "Ugh, who did we bring on? This woman knows absolutely nothing about what we're talking about." Okay. So I've seen her do that. Now, she has this theory, right? That first of all, feminists have gotten it wrong that women and men are the same, or that we're equal, and that we have, on a biological level, completely different brain chemistries, right? We have a lot of differences. The main one being that males produce more testosterone. There is going to be another woman I hate to bring race into this, but it seems like when the white people are saying it, or the white people who are educated, or white scientists or psychologists are saying it, nobody's making a big deal about it. Okay. But there's another woman who also talks about this, how this difference in testosterone creates such huge differences in the way that men and women interact in their environment. The main one being that men men need release. Okay. And I'm trying to keep it appropriate, but men need that cooking. Okay. Way more than women need that eggplant. Okay. Men think about it way more than what we do, right? And not only that, this increased level of testosterone causes a significant amount of aggression in men that is much more higher than women. And I can't believe we even have to argue about that, because the data worldwide shows that. Just Google it. This is basic information, right? So I think where people get upset with Princella at is that Princella has made the claim that because men have to go against their nature to a degree that women really don't have to. Most of the time, if women would just focus on themselves and not be so obsessed with men, right? And not be in competition with other women, we could actually move to a space where we're capable of actually loving people and showing love, right? It's when women are in competition with other women. It's when women are rolling around in the dirt, okay, with men who are living at a base level, that it makes it more difficult for us to actually be capable of loving. At that point, when we're having relationships on a base level that's based on intercourse, I'm trying to keep it appropriate here, then even the women are not capable of love, because you're only attaching yourself to somebody because you need validation. Then what happens is, a lot of the times you end up trying to, because you don't want that man to grow, you end up trying to pull him down. Or you end up fighting with other women and showing hatred towards other women in behind a man that can't even really see you in your total humanity, because you're a resource. Okay, you're a source of intercourse for him. You might be a place to stay for him, all of that, right? So I think where the controversy comes in with Princella is that Princella is saying that because the biological makeup between men and women is so different, it's much easier for women to attain a level of enlightenment and attain a level of self actualization that a lot of men will not be able to get to. And that's why she says men are incapable of love. Now, if you actually listen to what she said, she's conceded that it's not all men are incapable of love. It's that the vast majority are, and every woman wants their man to be the exception to the rule. So then when you have all these women that want all the dudes that they're dealing with to be the exception to the rule, then you're just much safer kind of making a blanket statement. That's been her rationale behind it. Now, Princella is not the only person who has said this. I've heard Tony Gaskins. Hey, DJ Batman. Yeah, Princella. Princella, I'm sorry. Princella the Queen Maker on High Powered Podcast. I've heard Tony Gaskins say this. That's why he says he doesn't talk to men. He says a lot of men don't believe in self-development, self-improvement, and self-enlightenment. So he doesn't waste his time trying to talk to men. I've heard several men who get on the internet say this. I've heard AP on AP for Life say that men don't want to listen. That's why a lot of times women get upset when they hear these male podcasters talking to the women and not the men, and directing their messages towards the women. But to be honest, if they were trying to direct their messages to men, and it's a message of self-improvement and actually getting your mind and your mental right and taking actionable steps to do that, a lot of men don't want to listen. Austin Holloman went on did a video today talking about how he's sick of talking to people who have low IQs. Like he was like, this, I'm changing my content completely because he's just outgrown. It's like he's like, I'm trying to tell y'all what to do. You can't just show up. I'm trying to tell you to work out. I'm trying to tell you exactly how to better yourself. Y'all expect me to do magic. Okay. So even he has gotten tired. So this is not just Princella saying these things. Men are agreeing with her. So let's talk about what happened with B. Taylor and Princella. So basically, to my understanding, it worked out like this. B. Taylor used to go on this show called the Lapeef Network, right? Which, as a woman, I don't understand why any woman would want to go on there, because all they do is dog the women out that come onto that network. And that's what Anton Daniels, that's what, and I forgot the other names of the people. I stopped watching after a while because I started realizing they dog the women out who disagree with them. And then eventually they disrespect the women who do agree with them by trying to bring other women on to cause like friction and go at the women that do agree with them. So they were always just dogging out all the women, and the women weren't getting paid well to go on there. Okay, they're dogging out these women and basically pimping these women out to be on here and making all the money. So of course they started dogging out B. Taylor. And B. Taylor got tired of that, which I understand. And I think what happened is B. Taylor kind of got hip to some of Princella's content. She was tired of how they was doing her over at Lapeef, and she kind of aligned herself with Princella. They started being cool. They started talking. Um, and I think they just kind of came up with this plan to basically stick it to the Lapeef network and make it seem like Princella is coming to rescue B. Taylor from them, right? And they made some videos about it. They made a whole spectacle about it. Now, the way B. Taylor tells it, and B. Taylor has a video about her fallout with Princella on her channel, she kind of makes it seem like Princella came and took advantage from her while she was in a vulnerable space. Princella is saying that B. Taylor was the one that reached out to her. So it's a bunch of hearsay. I believe they both wanted to stick it to the Lapeef network. Okay. Because to be clear, Lapeef network have dogged Princella out before. They've said some things about her on the internet, and they, done B. Taylor wrong. So I think it was a way for them to both get even. Now, here's where the fallout comes in. They got into a romantic relationship right now. Again, I don't feel like B. Taylor is taking full responsibility for the situation, because she's making it seem like Princella just turned her out and she wasn't even really into women like that. And I'm gonna say this: Princella need to not mess with nobody that subscribes to her or nobody on the internet. She just don't. And I'm going to put most of the blame for this situation on her, because when you already got people talking about you're a cult leader, then the last thing you need to be doing is messing with one of your subscribers. And you definitely don't need to be messing with other YouTubers. So, and she knows better. Like, she knows better. But at the same time, B. Taylor is a grown woman who was in her 30s. So how are you going to be in your 30s sitting up talking about another grown woman turned you out? Ma'am, do you not know how to fight? I'm confused. Because, see, no other grown woman is going to run up on me and do nothing to me that I don't like. You don't even have to be disrespectful. I've had to tell plenty of women, sorry, I don't get down like that. I'm not into other women. So I don't buy this. Another grown woman turned you out. I just don't. Okay. So, B. Taylor did this whole video going in on Princella, saying Princella's a cult leader. Also, basically trying to detract from the things that she teaches. a lot of it just seems like a difference of opinion. Okay. If you really listen to what B. Taylor had to say and what Princella had to say about it, a lot of this just sounds like a big misunderstanding, to be honest. Or it sounds like differences of opinion. For example, B. Taylor was basically saying that Princella is cold hearted because she asked Princella, like, how do you feel when your subscribers, call you and cry about how you changed your life? And Princella told her, I don't really feel anything. Right. And B. Taylor was trying to make it seem like Princella was a monster because she said she don't really feel anything. But what you have to understand is when you are self-developing and when you're learning how to master your emotions, you're not easily moved. There are stories about my own life that I could tell you with a straight face and not cry that would make other people cry. And you would be like, well, what's wrong with her? Well, it's because I'm not easily moved. I've learned how to master my emotions. So some of it was just really simple stuff in my opinion. It just got blown out of proportion. Give me a second, y'all. I need to grab my charger. Okay. Sorry about that. Um B. Taylor also made some claims that Princella doesn't really attend to her child the way she needs to. She was saying Princella lets her kid eat fast food all the time and that Princella keep the house dirty. And again, all of that is relative. Like, I don't know. I know plenty of people who, I'm not saying it's right and my kid don't eat fast food all the time. I could see Princella letting her kid eat fast food all the time because she's on the move. A lot of women that's out here working hard like that do that. I'm not saying it's right, and she definitely definitely needs to do better. We haven't seen the inside of Princella house, whether or not the house was clean or nasty. That's relative. That's relative. So I don't know. But I am gonna show y'all this video that my homegirl sent me. And basically what I didn't like about this is that B. Taylor wasn't on here keeping it real. And because she wasn't on here keeping it real, that does lead me to kind of question some of the things she was saying in her video. And Tasha K wasn't keeping it real either. So let me pull it up. I'm gonna put on my earphones so I can hear. Okay. Hopefully y'all can hear. So of course everybody knows who Tasha K is. B. Taylor is the one with the braids. Hold on, let me change my audio settings. There we go.
Man, I think that
I do.
You do.
I do because we interviewed your ex.
Can we not call that?
Okay,
Your somebody that if you're not
somebody you were involved with.
Yeah, okay. Somebody that I was cool with.
All right,
that's not.
I got you. Yeah. So Princella Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right off the bat, B. Taylor start off lying and being dishonest. Okay, so you done sat up here And you trying to make it seem like this is somebody that you just had a casual relationship with. But I'm gonna pull up the receipt because this I understand after she did that, I understand exactly why a lot of men say that we don't tell the truth about relationships, right? Or that we're dishonest or we be like delusional about certain things because that was given pure delusion. Basically, she was trying to say that's just somebody I dealt with. If you aren't my kid's father, then I don't consider, ma'am. You had relations with this woman. You were taking flights and trips with this woman. Her kids was hanging out with your kids. Y'all spending the night over each other's house. She done did a whole video talking about her relationship experience with this woman. But now you get on somebody else's platform and make it seem like that wasn't your ex or that was just somebody that you dealt with casually. Like, let's not lie. I'm gonna pull it up. Y'all tell me if y'all think this sound like y'all tell me if y'all think this sound like somebody this woman was just casually dating. Again, y'all, please remember to go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and comment. Okay. I'm gonna show y'all this. And y'all tell me what y'all think. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what's going on.
Say that I'm going low. No, I'm finding my voice to speak up because I do care about women. I do love women. I get along when me and P would go out. She verbatim said when it was just me and other women talking, she was like talking to the men. And she verbatim told me, like, I don't really like talking to women like that. I like talking to men. She's like one of the guys. So she's not even in touch with her feminine side. And I do feel used. I feel like I was used as a trophy. I feel like she used my vulnerability. And it's hurtful because I know a lot of women have healed through her and she's helped a lot of women, but she is very much flawed and she's very emotionally abusive to women as well. The way she talks to y'all, when she was getting on to y'all and that big fallout she had with y'all, she was going off on y'all, calling y'all stupid, calling y'all dumb, saying y'all are EU, saying she's up here and y'all are down here. Imagine how that shit was behind closed doors. I had to hear about how intelligent I am, even though I went to school, got my degree, worked hard for myself. Like, I'm in my career. Like, I have a full-blown real career in media. It's not easy being a Black woman doing what I do and being an award-winning journalist. I've had many opportunities to do a lot of great things, and I have not been able to share that with y'all.
Okay, pause. Now, I do want to acknowledge that B. Taylor seems very, very hurt, very, very emotional in behind this breakup. Okay. That doesn't sound like somebody who she was just casually dealing with. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say, hey, I was with this woman. It didn't work out. That's my ex. I don't see the problem.
I got a promotion title and everything. I've been so private with my nothing. You don't do nothing. You don't even buy her nothing for Christmas. But I made sure she had a gift under my fucking tree. She had a gift with my tree. She opened up presents with my children. And you want to sit here and make it seem like I'm just this dishonest person. I love children. I don't play about kids. I don't play about my kids. And I didn't play about your child. I don't like how you don't feed her. I don't like how you give her fast food every fucking day.
Okay, pause. So is it that she don't feed her kid or that she gives her fast food every day? Which one? Because it can't be both. Okay? If the girl is eating fast food every day, she can't be not getting fed. And that's what I'm saying. I think that B. Taylor was really hurt. And I think a lot of this is just based off of her perception. Maybe she feels like feeding a kid fast food every day is not feeding them. And admittedly, that's not the best. Okay. If you make, she make enough money to where she could, be feeding the girl, the child actual food. But, you know, it's a really huge difference making a claim that a parent does not feed their kid and then saying that their kid is getting fed fast food. One will get you a CPS case. Okay.
I don't like how you take care of yourself and make sure you're getting a bath, but she ain't got no bath for a few days. I don't wearing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. And I see a lot of parents that do that. If that was what was going on, no, I don't care. I think a lot of parents think that because these kids are babies and that they're small, that they don't need to bathe the same way we do. But that's not my view. My daughter bathe every day.
Again, because she ain't had no bath. You're not training her. You're not teaching her. You're not instilling inside of her. And it's wrong because you want to shame boy mothers and boy moms loving their sons over their daughters, but you loving social media over yours. You love the clout and money over your own child. Because if you was really pouring into, you would live the life that you live. Y'all know, and for the ones that's in denial right now, think back on any time she was on live and it was late at night, you heard that girl playing. Every time she came in there, she was begging for her mama's attention. And she,
Okay, I'm going to pause this. Now, again, I don't necessarily agree with what she's saying right here because, yes, most of the time when Princella would come on live, it'd be on the weekend. So if it's the weekend, most parents let their kids stay up late on the weekend. Now, I can be on live talking to my audience on the weekend, especially when that's when I'm scheduled to do a live, and still be letting my kid play in the living room or play somewhere else and tell them, hey, you need to be quiet. Like, you need to respect that this is my time to be on live. That doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention to my kid. Y'all get what I'm trying to say? That doesn't mean she was not paying attention to her kid. It's just you can't do both. You can either do a live or you can either be spending time with your kid. And again, I will say from what I've seen, most of the time she does her lives on the weekend and at nighttime. So I don't think that and here's the thing. B. Taylor is doing what a lot of women do after a breakup and playing victim about every little thing instead of just admitting the real problem here, which, and she talks about it, but she doesn't admit that this is the real issue. She's upset that Princella moved on rather quickly and has a new girlfriend. That's the real issue here. That's the real issue too. I hope she gets to it soon so that y'all can see that is the problem. Because before all of that, she wasn't coming on the internet saying anything. She didn't have a problem with the way she was feeding, clothing, and raising her daughter while they were together. She didn't come on here trying to stand up for her child and, so-called expose her. It's when you done got in your feelings. And I can understand why. That would hurt my feelings too. If I was in a relationship with somebody and they moved on like really quickly, yeah, I'd be hurt too. I just don't think this is the way to handle it.
Go on now. Then she realized, like, oh, people looking, and play with her and be like, okay, get on my face. That girl has autism. She needs to be in programs. P is lying when she say any mother who has children of autism can say that is not hard getting your child diagnosed. All you got to do is be consistent. It doesn't take years for you to get your child diagnosed. It took you years to get your child diagnosed because that wasn't a priority for you. Taking your child to the doctor was not a priority for you. Getting her the help that she needed so she wouldn't be so delayed in her speech was not a priority for you.
Let me see if I can speed this up.
It was exactly what everybody thought it was. And even her own father was like, it smelled like weed in here. Like when he came to go pick her up. The
Oh,
little girl was losing weight.
right here, she talking about how like Princella be smoking weed. I'm trying to get to the part where she talked about how she
First
was
lady,
mad.
she just wants to be the girl that everybody is like, oh my God. So for me, I have my own platform. I will continue to build my platform.
I think
I
this
will
is
continue to build the women. I will continue to share my healing journey. And this is a lesson learned. I don't want no woman to ever go through what I fucking been through for the past 6 months. I don't want nobody to experience that. You could be a woman or a man. That does not mean that you cannot be a narc. That does not mean you can't be manipulative. That does not mean you could be spiteful and evil. And I feel like I know for a fact, I went out with Yanni and them last.
okay. Now she's right in what she's saying right there. But my whole thing, hold on. DJ Batman, I'm gonna get to your question in a second. Now she was right when she said that, but my whole thing is, you didn't know that outside of just having romantic relationships with women, you know, outside of this romantic relationship that she had with Princella, people are people. You, as a grown woman, you haven't lived and learned that there are women who can be spiteful. There are women who can be jealous. There are women who can have bad intentions. There are women who can backstab. See, this is the problem that I have with a lot of people who sit up and try to say that Princella is a cult and she trying to turn everybody out. First of all, I've watched plenty of videos of her where she has said she ain't trying to make, if you don't want to deal with women, don't deal with women. She's always said, I'm just giving you information. It's 4 things you can do with it. You can either come to the knowledge of what you're going to be dealing with if you choose to deal with men and continue to deal with them. You can decide not to deal with them. You could decide not to deal with them and also please yourself, or you can go get a woman. Honestly and truly, in reality, them your only 4 options. Them your only 4 options. And I've heard her say that so many times. You got to choose the route for you. Now, what I will tell you that I have seen up in her comment section is women throwing their what's in between their legs at her. I promise you. Or women calling into the show and they're like, okay, well, how do I go about dating women now? Like, I've seen this, and it's like, hold on. Y'all are turning a message into something that it wasn't intended to be. See, your first step after you come into the knowledge of what men are and are not capable of and how they're different from us, that your first step shouldn't be to just jump from men to women. What? That's a lot of y'all problem. And when I say y'all, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be careful with that y'all part because I know a lot of people in the audience, they feel like it is personal. Let me say this. That's a lot of people problem. Instead of going and being with their self, learning how to sleep alone at night, learning how to date themselves, learning how to actually like themselves, they have to try to figure out how to get up under somebody else. So a lot of people feel like Princella was telling these women that they need to be dating, you know, other women and encouraging that and doing all that. And these women were just naturally being thirsty in the comments and coming to that conclusion. DJ Batman, do men really want XX more than women? Is this facts or opinion? No, that's facts. That's facts. That's scientifically proven. I'm gonna actually pull up a video clip that addresses this, but no, plenty of scientists have determined that, and that's not just in the human species. That's seen for the most part all across the animal kingdom. You have your exceptions to that, but it doesn't necessarily occur in humans.
Last night. I went out with them last night. I had so much fun. We had so much fun. It was men buying us shots. They was buying us drinks. They was all up in our face. We was turning them down. It was a blast. I had so much fun. And while I was having fun, you were a witness to it. This was just yesterday. What happened yesterday?
She called her.
She witnessed her calling me, but she wants to get online as if like I'm this hurt, wounded person that's chasing after her, but you're calling me and you're mad that I didn't call you back. I get on my TikTok live because I'm drunk. I'm feeling good. Men was sending me cash apps. They was
Okay. Is she not being honest here? She is hurt. I didn't say that, DJ Batman. I'm gonna address that. She is hurt. Ladies, y'all all know what time it is when a man have hurt your feelings and you're going overboard trying to prove to him that you're not bothered. Okay, you might be get cute, go out, you post, and I've seen her do this. I've seen her turn up like her post. I've seen her do this, and you know, one thing I had to learn is after a breakup to just kind of be still. Like, don't post more than what I normally post, but make sure everything that I'm posting is like with the right intention, because these men know when you're doing that. You know, you might, I don't know, depending on the maturity level of the man, if the man is like really immature, that might work for a time, because even then they figure out what you're doing. So let's stop playing these games. And she don't understand why Princella was telling her that she immature, because she is very immature. When I just kind of, if you listen to this whole live and the stuff that she's saying, like it definitely is giving that she's naive and that she's immature.
they were.
And the thing is, she thinks that the audience is just as naive and immature. That's the crazy thing.
They pay for our drinks, our round of drinks. They was sending me cash up. They was having that we was all having fun. I went home, I'm feeling good, I'm jamming, I'm having fun. It's a dude in the chat that's like, let me take you on vacation, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I'm like laughing, joking with him. And then the next day she gets on her live today, which is today. She gets on her live. Before she can even introduce her book, she can't help but to be petty and say, I'm gonna tell y'all who I am. I date women. I'm dating women, and I have a girlfriend right now. So then my phone started blowing up because people was like, damn, you and P back together? I'm like, hell no. What's going on? And
Okay. So this is when being petty first goes wrong. Okay? Because like, let's not play these games. Let's be grown women here. So they both playing games. Let's be clear. B Taylor and Princella both playing games. Now, you got B Taylor who out and about after a breakup, you posting drinks, you posting that you out and about with friends. You make, letting it be known these dudes want you, okay? And Princella call you, you ignoring the call because you like, hey, I'm putting her on ice. Cool. Like, let's not act like that wasn't strategic. But what happened is she checkmated you. And the next day, she got on live and said she had a girlfriend. Now, to be clear, Princella stay in dang near every live that she do. She talk about how she date women, how she got a girlfriend, all this. So that's not the first time I've heard her do that. But I'm not going to put it past her that she did that in response to B Taylor. So they both playing games here. The thing is, B Taylor don't want to admit that she playing games. She want to play victim.
They're like, oh, she online saying she's with somebody. So I hop in the chat and she's like, yeah, I got a girlfriend. So I'm not gonna lie. You're trying to publicly give into that whole narrative that you pumped and dumped me and that you moved on to the next thing. This is
the real issue here. This is the real issue. This right here. Let me let her finish. This is the real issue, okay? And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because this woman done sat on Tasha K and tried to play like her and Princella didn't go together. And that was nothing. That was just, I don't know, a little fling. I don't know. She sat up there and lied.
This is what narcs do. They gotta move on to the next person to show the world that they weren't the problem. She wants to make me look like the problem because I'm not jumping on the next person. I'm not jumping on the next opportunity that comes my way. I'm not crying on this man's or woman's shoulder to hop on the next day.
I'm sorry, I have to say something. Everyone keeps saying the manosphere gonna. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
the
right.
Manosphere, the manosphere.
Right. Don't nobody care about nothing that they talking about over there.
Who fucking cares? Nobody cares. Stop listening to them. My God.
Yeah.
How y'all saying, man? Who fucking cares?
I love Yanni. I watch her show. She's such a genuine person. I really do love her.
This is not for the manosphere. The manosphere was talking about this before they even knew what the hell happened. They was going to talk about this if we would have peacefully ended it and she would never been petty and took it to the internet.
Yeah, because I'm going to say that too. You know, I feel like one thing that I really did not like, especially like when I started kind of doing content about Princella's message at one point, it's like men started wanting, and when I saw Princella go do interviews with men on their channel, they wanted to try to divert the message and talk about, you know, they wanted to focus on, you know, lesbian relationships more. It's like all of a sudden they care about lesbian relationships and what goes on in lesbian relationships, and female on female relationships don't work. Which I'm just gonna say this: like, if you are not healed, if you are not mature, if you don't have good intentions, if you haven't worked on yourself, if you don't know how to get along with people, no relationship is gonna work. But my whole thing is, I feel like I understood this when Princella was giving her message. It just feels like a lot of people, that just went over their heads. And that goes back to needing to always be up under somebody, not being able to sleep alone. And I'm gonna say this: I don't know the exact time between the actual breakup and Princella getting a girlfriend, but what I will say is this, and I'm be 1000. I've been watching Princella for a year and a half. Within a year and a half time span, she have had, I guess, 3 girlfriends. Okay. She had one girlfriend that lived in Texas, one long distance, B Taylor, and now she got a 4th girlfriend. So you cannot be on the internet talking to people about working on yourself and learning how to be alone. And you done had 4 relationships in the span of under 2 years. That's crazy. And not like, these are people who you're claiming and calling your girlfriend. Nah, like, honestly and truly, you really shouldn't even be talking to that many people. I don't know. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's something that I need to work on. Like, maybe I need to put myself out there more. I just don't see how people do that.
Credibility do they have? None.
I blocked her. Y'all see me wearing all black. This is a funeral. She is dead to me. She is.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this video with Tasha K. Now, she done said the woman dead to her, but she get on Tasha K, still talking about her. Again, this goes back to not having boundaries. Because if she's supposed to be dead and the relationship's supposed to be over, why are you still talking about her? And I understand Tasha K brought it up, but you can't just tell her, I'm not talking about that right now. I'm on the other stuff. Because surely she didn't go on Tasha K when she has her own platform. Like, B Taylor has her own platform. She's a big YouTuber. Surely she didn't go on Tasha K just to talk about Princella. So she could have redirected that conversation. So I'm going to go back to what was said on Tasha K.
She goes by the Queen Maker official. I guess she prides herself on spending about 15 years studying men, particularly gay men, and the psychology of men so that women could.
Okay. Now, I like Tasha K. She can be a little bit messy sometimes, but Tasha K clearly feels a way towards Princella because what she just said is not true. Again, and I'm coming as somebody who's listened to all of her content, like well, not all of it, but a lot of it. She's talked about and she's written books where she said her experiences with men, working at a car dealership, having male friends. You know, she gave so many other working in the music industry. So for her to say particularly gay men is her area of study, that's just not true. I don't know if she heard a clip. I don't know if she done enough research, but Tasha K, my girl, that's why Cardi cleaned up on you the way that she did, because you have to learn how to verify stuff before you just get on the internet talking. And that just kind of goes back to even a lot of people feel a way towards me because I watched Joe Rogan. Why? Because I know that compilation came out on the internet of him saying the N-word, but I watched that man long enough to know he's not a racist. So people just be seeing clips on the internet and running with stuff and being way too lazy to do the actual legwork and sit down and listen to what somebody is saying.
Understand the psyche of men, which is not very bright. She's built.
I'm gonna also point this out. Tasha K does videos every other day where she is exposing boyfriends and husbands of women, where she be exposing all of these men for the stuff that they do. Not only that, some information got put out about, her husband, not necessarily stepping out on her, but not really doing right by her in court. Some information, basically trying to save himself in court. So some information got put out about her husband. So my whole thing is, you are a woman who reports every single day, makes it your business to report every single day of the foul stuff that these men are out here doing to women. And then you want to make it seem like Princella is just getting on the internet talking about a small minority of cases when you built a whole career off of telling these men's business.
Sort of like a cult-like following.
Cult-like, it is a cult.
What I consider, I would agree, men haters, and they try to emulate men. They try to be men.
I'm gonna say this. There are a lot of people out here that need somebody to follow. And when I say follow, I don't mean support. Like, there are people on the internet who I watch, several people on the internet who I watch, who I might donate to their channel just because I understand the work that it took to put into this. If they have a service that is of value to me, I might buy it, right? If it's of value to me. However, at the end of the day, I make my own decisions about my own life and what I'm going to choose to do with my life and my body, period. Right? And I'm going to always speak the truth on any situation. I'm not blinded by the position that a person is. But then you have some people who, like, they're going to develop a cultish and hive-like mentality. Can you blame the personality on the internet, or is it the responsibility of the people who are consuming? I don't know. Maybe y'all can tell me what y'all think about that in the chat. Again, I see a couple people in the room. Go ahead and hit that like button and make yourself known in the chat room. Okay.
They don't quite like to, I guess, would like to call themselves lesbians per se, but they are. They are. It's like a cult group of women that she cultivates, and she feeds this unverifiable information.
Wrong. Okay, again, Hasha K. The information is verifiable. All you have to do is pick up a book and pick up a biology book and read up about there are scientific journals that you can find about the effects of testosterone on men. Okay, she did not create Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, there are psychologists who came before. A lot of what Princella does is just put to get together work of people who have already done the legwork before her. So to say that the information is unverifiable is wild to me. Okay, when her information is more credible, and I'm not saying that Tasha K isn't credible or that she doesn't have credible sources. I'm just saying in terms of being able to scientifically verify peer-reviewed studies, a lot of the information that Princella puts out is far more credible than the information that Tasha K puts out. So I don't know.
To people,
I would say in defense of the women, because I was one of those women. So I can't even get mad at those women who now are upset with me, because you really don't know that you're in a cult until you leave. You know, you don't know that you're in a cult until you leave the cult. And then you see the backlash, and then you see it from the outside in and say, whoa, like I just left the cult. So those women, I wouldn't describe them in that way. There are women who've been through trauma, sexual abuse, molestation. I mean, single mothers, divorce, or women who are just looking for answers of why did their relationship not work. They're looking for answers.
Okay, so this is what I don't like that B. Taylor does. She tries to make it seem like all of these instances of things that are happening to women are not patterns that cannot be explained. Now she's trying to like just individualize these personal experience when again there's data. There is data to back up why these things happen on a broad scale. It's just not one or two people. If you were to be in a room full of 100 women and give them the space to be honest and ask how many of y'all have been SA'd, your jaw is gonna drop. Your jaw is gonna drop. And if you're a woman, you know this, because when we get together and we, you know, I don't care where I've been. I don't care if I've been at university. I don't care if I've been out to dinner with women. I don't care if I've been meeting new women. I don't care if I've been in a poor neighborhood. I don't care if I've been in a rich neighborhood. I don't care where I've been. There are no shortage of women who will tell me that they have had that experience. You put 100 women in a room and ask them how many of y'all have been cheated on, your jaw's gonna drop. Like, and these are just small sample sizes. Like, let's not be intellectually dishonest. And then on top of that, we have numbers. If when it comes to like, especially like if we just talk about women in the Black community, 1 in 4 young girls has been SA'd. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. So let's not play like these experiences are so individualized that there are not collective reasons why this happens. And I'm going to get into that.
Living in hell. A lot of these women were living in hell until they met this woman. She came off as a savior. Like, I'm going to come in and give y'all the answers. Although her message initially, when I first heard her message, I wanted to understand her, because at first it came off like, okay, this is a cult. People keep calling her a cult. Maybe she's just misunderstood, because I think a lot of those women.
Okay, girl. So you thought it was a cult to begin with. You thought it was a cult to begin with. Listened to her message and decided that it wasn't a cult. But now that y'all done broke up, it's a cult again. Okay. And again, let me be clear. There are women who listen to her who act very cultish. I will say that. I don't think that that's the majority of the women that listen to her. I think you just that's just like with these celebrities. You got people who like Beyonce, and then you got the Beehive.
that are a part of her group and following are misunderstood women. We're the women who's been through heartbreak and depression, and just like we played the role. We were feminine. We were this. We were that, and we're just like, a lot of those women know they're not going to get married. A lot of them women know that relationships are not for them. A lot of them know that their partner is a woman and they're constructed by society to be with a man, but they really want to be with a woman. So it's a mixture of women who are looking for healing.
Now, I agree with her in that it's a mixture of women who are looking for healing. I don't think that most of the women that been through this heartache and depression, I don't think it's, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm tripping. I don't think it's that many that have always felt that their partner is a woman. I think it's okay for women to say, I like men, I'm attracted to men, I'm biologically wired to be attracted to men. It's just men behave in a way where it is not healthy for us to be in a long-term relationship together or live together. I think it's okay to say that. I don't think we have to go. And again, for some women, that might be their truth, that they actually supposed to be with a woman. But again, it's kind of like she's saying that Princella is a cult. Now, then you end it with, okay, a lot of these women have been through all this stuff and they need an answer. Let me talk about for me. Since I started listening to Princella, I'm not angry anymore. Like, as soon as I see a man get to behave in a certain kind of way, I'd be like, he just hardwired to do that. Or he just not capable of being better. And it's easier for me to let go because I don't blame myself. I'm not sitting up here like, oh, what's wrong with me? Or let me try to do more to try to make this person happier. It's like, no, it's definitely a you problem. Like, not me, but definitely a him problem. So, bye. And if I want to deal with a man, I'll deal with him. If I don't want to deal with them, then I won't. It's not that serious anymore. Y'all understand? Like, I don't care as much. And I think that's a freedom and the peace that a lot of women would love to get to, but they can't get to that because you're too busy blaming yourself or moving in a lack of knowledge. Okay, so let me go to this video on Diary of a CEO. I love his channel. I love listening to men like this. I know a lot of y'all think I don't like men. But I love listening to men like this who you can tell are just super disciplined. from what they present themselves as. Okay.
Tienes que subir contenido, que tienes que abrir TikTok, que tienes que hacer historias, que tienes que subir reels.
It's a problem that every society faces. And I don't think that we deal with it as well as we could. Partly because I think we don't tell the truth about it. And not least feminists don't tell the truth about it. Because if you say, oh, they're
Okay.
And what sort of upbringing has informed the way that you see the world?
I started off as a very kind of basically holding the mainstream progressive view, being very kind of conventional in my thinking. I went to a very, very progressive university, School of Oriental and African Studies in London. And when I left university, I worked for charities, including working at a rape crisis center, which was which had a significant effect on me in the sense that I was very familiar with sort of standard feminist theory. Standard feminist theory says men and women are basically the same. There aren't any real important differences between us, either physical or psychological, apart from, the baby's bit, whatever, who cares? And that sexual violence, rape, is not about sexual desire. It's about power. It's a power play thing. It's all sort of understood in political terms. And then I actually went to work with victims And I noticed things. I sort of couldn't help but notice things about what they'd been through that made me think, I don't think that's true. Like, you know that the modal victim of sexual violence is 15. It's really young, right? Really young. And also the age of perpetrators is also skews quite young, like teens and 20s is the most common age group. And one of the things I noticed, or couldn't help but notice, is that perpetrators, basically the peak age of perpetration for men, young men, is the same as testosterone peak.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the same curve. It's also the same curve you see in other kinds of violent crime. There's basically just testosterone rises a lot in your mid-teens and then drops in your 30s. And it's basically during that period that, I mean, there's a massive upside to this as well. Like, you know, testosterone is also the drug of the hormone of being adventurous and risk-taking. And like, there's a lot of upsides to having that sort of youthful male energy. The downside is things like rape. And ditto, the peak age of female victimization is also peak fertility.
So what's your conclusion from that?
That it's not about power, it's about biology.
Boom. Okay. So ain't Princella been said? Ain't that what Princella said? Not only Princella said this, again, you can find countless biologists here on YouTube. I could really pull it up, who are saying that this behavior, because I see men try to make it seem, they will point to outliers. They will point to women who, you know, for example, like a big thing that's going on is these teachers with these boys, right? They will point to situations like that, which are more so outliers. It's not I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that women are not perpetrators of this type of behavior, predatory behavior. What I'm saying is that it's not characteristic of women. Do y'all understand? If you look at a data set, right, you will find women who were outliers who do this, but in mass, what happens on the regular, women do not behave that way. That goes back to, I remember I told a story on live of, I was in a classroom full of kids and we were watching this video about World War II. And there was a scene where it looked like these men might SA a woman, but I knew they weren't going to. So they were like, Mrs. He, I'm like, no, they're not going to do that, you know? And I'm capping about what they were like, no, I'm not. I was like, you know, no, he's not going to do that. And the boys in the classroom, one of them said, shoot, can you blame them? You out that war that long? I would too. I would too. And the other boy was like, shoot, nobody, not one other boy in the room said, man, y'all are tripping. You know, some of them laughed and the rest of the room kind of went quiet. And then finally I said something. But and I'm not saying that all men do that, but you put a lot of men, let's go back to Vietnam. You put a lot of men in an environment where they don't have access to women readily available, and you put them in a situation where there's a lawlessness, where nobody is going to check them. Again, there are a lot of women, villages full of women in Vietnam where soldiers were SAing those women, and it wasn't just one or two. Okay. How do I know this? My brother's grandma came over during the fall of Saigon. Okay. So she has told these stories, right? It's documented. It's not just her word. It's documented that these things were happening. So a lot of times the only things that keep a lot of these men in check is the fear of other men putting the law to them, right? And then you have some that just don't care and can't help themselves and are going to do what they want to do regardless, right? Is it hard for you to pair bond now? In terms of what? Because I'm not out here just I think if you ask a woman like, is it hard for her to pair bond, like I'm not one of them people who can just be out here laying down with people and not develop attachments. Is that what you're asking? But that's why I don't just be out here laying down with with people. You get what I'm saying? But if I feel like I want to talk to a man or have conversation with a man or something like that, I do. And when I don't want to, I don't. And I don't feel any obligation at all. Okay, let me get back to the video.
Or it's not just, if you look at, say, sexual harassment in the workplace, it's rare for like junior men to sexually harass senior women, right?
Yeah.
So there clearly is an element of people that sort of making decisions based on social power structures and so on. But I know when it comes down to it, this is a biological phenomenon. It's also not unique to humans. Other animals, other primates are also sexually aggressive, basically for the same reasons. So sort of what we're dealing with is is an eternal problem. Like how do we channel male aggression in the right directions? How do we protect young women during these vulnerable years?
Okay, and that goes back to a lot of the manosphere saying, Omar, you said I'm the light-skinned Oprah. Wow. I don't know how to feel about that. So that kind of goes back. And again, I'm not just, let me be clear. When I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about this is not like a race thing. This white woman is on here saying she's not just talking about white men, or she not talking about a specific race. This is just men in general, right? The reason why I'm juxtaposing what she's saying, or I'm comparing what she's saying to Princella, because it's like, it seems like it's, first of all, people try to make it seem like Princella is only talking about black men, when she said several times she's just talking about men in general, right? But she gets demonized as an extremist who's trying to turn everybody into a lesbian, when you have this white woman on here who is not talking about just one race of men either. She's talking about all men. Not only is she a white woman, but she's a heterosexual white woman. She's pregnant in this video. Okay. And she's married. And she's saying the exact same things. And it's kind of like when Princella says it, she gets demonized as not, just like Tasha K tried to make it seem like, oh, her information is not verifiable. It's like, okay, why? Because she is a black woman, all of a sudden she's uneducated and her information is unverifiable. And because she's a lesbian, what she's saying is being discredited, when there are plenty of heterosexual people, both men and women, who will say the same things that she is saying.
This is a profound problem, and it's a problem that every society faces. And I don't think that we deal with it as well as we could. Partly because I think we don't tell the truth about it. And not least, feminists don't tell the truth about it.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is another thing that kind of irritates me too, right? I see a lot of men get on the internet bashing feminists, talking bad about women who are feminists, right? And the original feminist movement, that first wave feminism that pretty much paved the way for all else, they were saying women can do the same things that men can do. We think the same way. There's no difference in our brain compositions. We're pretty much the same, right? When you get these women on the internet, like Princella, like this lady right here, I need to find out her name. I forgot. Is it in the title? Louise Perry. So I got to put some respect on the lady's name. So when you get these people on the internet, these women who are countering what feminists have traditionally said, a lot of people don't want to hear that either. A lot of these men on the internet and in the manosphere don't want to hear that either. These are women who are admitting that there are clear and empirical differences and that there is data to support that. It's just when we're honest about the differences, then it's a problem. DJ Batman, is you a feminist? I mean, I feel like everybody has their own definition of feminist. I'm going to say I'm not a feminist, and it's not because I necessarily have anything against feminists. It just depends on, like, I'd have to sit down and talk to each individual feminist to see what are your thoughts. Because if you think that men and women are biologically the same or that our brain chemistries work the same, then I'm going to have to disagree. I can't agree with any feminist that says that. If you believe that men and women should have the equal right to self-determination and to choose their own path in life, then I'm all for that.
Because if you say, oh, there are no physical differences between men and women, male and female sexuality is basically the same, women having as much freedom, sexual freedom as possible is obviously the best possible thing, you know. I think what you end up doing by telling these untruths, frankly, I mean, people say these things with the best will in the world, but what you end up doing is actually putting young women at risk, young women who don't know the truth, because how could they, you know? 15-year-old girls, and I say this as someone who used to be a 15-year-old girl and has also, you know, spoken to lots of 15-year-old girls who've really learned this the hard way. They don't know these realities about, you know, the fact that, like, men have double the upper body strength that women do on average, which means they can punch twice as hard.
And I'm glad she's bringing up race, because again, this goes back to, and trust me when I say this, like, I have, in terms of, like, because a lot of people feel like if you're an older woman that you get, like, you're jealous of men who talk about dating women who are between the ages of 18 and 25. When, to be honest, I've never met a man who dates women between the ages of 18 and 25 who I personally like as a person, like who I personally would even see myself with. Like, we have two different mentalities, right? But when she talks about this age group of young women getting victimized, it's like it corresponds to the fact that a lot of men are telling other men to get with women who are in an age group where, like she said, they're young, they're naive, they don't have any experience. So if you're dealing with people who don't have any experience and honestly are not even capable, like, you could tell girls this age about the true nature of men and their brain chemistry, and they still probably would not get it, because you have to learn that sort of thing partly through experience. That's why back in the day, a lot of the times young girls used to kind of have to, like, stay in the house a little bit more, or their mothers might have to chaperone them, or they would have chaperones, because again, we get caught up more in our emotions, right? A lot of times at that age, you need somebody who knows a little bit better than you to kind of do some vetting and keep these hounds up off of you. Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward. How DJ Batman, you were talking about how men and women view their sexuality. So she's going to get into that right now. There are clear differences. I don't care. Like, I hear men all the time trying to say women are more freakier than men and we think about it more than men. And that just doesn't pan out with the data. That just doesn't pan out with my life experience as a woman or other women that I've came in contact with. I think you do have those outliers of women who are far more like freakier and think about sex all the time. And I think men who engage in that type of behavior put themselves in environments where those type of women are more readily available. For example, men that come here to Colombia, they try to make it seem like every woman here is freaky and, down to, getting on, but they intentionally go to areas where the prostitutes are. They're not going to these areas that are more residential, more conservative. They're going where there's a concentration of women who engage in that type of behavior.
Or the subjects we were talking about as it relates to sort of sexuality and society more generally?
So it means, for instance, that I think casual sex is almost always more risky for women than it's worth it for women.
Why?
Because being alone with a man that you don't know, basically, is what we're talking about, is inherently dangerous for women, just because that physical asymmetry. 2, because women are the ones who get pregnant. Like, even with the pill, even with the most reliable contraception, you've still got that small chance. And so that either means that you carry a pregnancy to term with all of its physical risks and emotional risks, or it means you have an abortion. Like, basically all of those costs are borne by the woman. The man might have no idea that this has even occurred, right?
And this is why, again, when we're like, and I feel like there's kind of like a lack of empathy and understanding towards women on behalf of men, partly because men don't have to take those risks. Like, there are a lot of men who feel like if a woman lays down and has relations with a man, that was an even exchange. She gave me some of her cookie. I gave her some eggplant. It was even, it was equal. But what men don't understand is the risk that woman took laying down with you far outweighs the risk that he took. So that's never an even exchange, right? And that's why you have a lot of women now. I don't get down like this, but I understand the women who were like, F you, pay me. Right? Because they've calculated the risk versus reward, and they like Denzel, baby, I'm leaving here with something.
So there's this kind of essential asymmetry, which you can try and get past with technology, with contraceptive technology, but you can't quite. You know, it's still there. The psychological differences between the sexes in terms of sexuality are also important. They're not as massive as, say, upper body strength, but on average, they are very, very marked. And one of those differences is that men are basically keener on casual sex than women are. Men want to jump into bed more quickly than women do.
How do we know that?
Looking cross-culturally is one big clue, because you might say, and some people do say, like, there are these studies, they're quite funny, where researchers will go onto university campuses and get an attractive woman, an attractive man, and they go up to members of the opposite sex and basically proposition them and say, like, do you want to go back to mine right now? And in 0% of cases do women say yes. 0%. And this is consistent. Whereas in quite a high proportion of cases, men will say yes, right? And that is consistent across. It's been done in different times, different places. You know, you might say, oh, it's because women are scared of slut shaming, or, you know, that there's like a social penalty for women. And that's a little bit true. But then when you see, you know, there's been surveys done of like basically every country in the world, to my knowledge. And in no country do women watch more porn than men. In no country do women express more of a desire for casual sex than men do. In no country do women buy sex more than men do. Like, it's basically only men.
Life.
I'm going to stop that there. Okay. I'm going to stop that there because I'm not trying to be on here too long. So, yeah, I mean, just go to Cartagena, go to the walled city, and go to those clubs that cater to prostitution. You're not going to go in there and see women trying to buy prostitutes. You're not going to go to Parqueyeres and see women trying to buy prostitutes. There's not a real market for it. You know, if we're just so sex driven and sexually driven with men, why don't we just take our money and go pay for it? Because women aren't broke. We go pay for whatever else we want to pay for. If we want a dress, if we want some jewelry, if we want to, why don't we just go pay for it? Okay. And then you could say, oh, well, men will just give it to you for free. I don't have to pay for it. Then why aren't the majority? Why do you have such a huge group of men saying that they can't get laid? If we're so sexually driven, why aren't we just taking whatever comes to us and just saying, this is fine, this will do? Because a lot of men will do that. I hear them say that all the time. Hey, there are certain women that will marry, and then there are certain women that will smash. We won't be seen in public with. We might not even be attracted to her. She might not even be our type, but we just trying to get our rocks off. Women don't operate like that. DJ Batman says, so you don't have desires. I'm not saying that. Okay. What I'm saying is it's not running through for example, I'll give you an example, DJ Batman. I was on a date with this guy. And to put it in perspective, because y'all think everybody be getting on black man, this was a white man. He was a white man of means. He owned a couple of businesses in Dallas. So I was on a date with him, and he was 35 at the time. I think I was like, I want to say 28, 27. So anyway, we were talking, and he was telling me how he could not stop cheating when he was in his 20s. He said most of the time, if he went out on a date with a girl or he was kicking it at his house with a girl, he could not wait for her to shut up. He was like, I couldn't even, like, the whole time she's talking, in my mind, I'm just thinking, I want her to shut the fuck up so that we can hurry up and get to it, right? It's like he couldn't even he had to pretend to be interested in what she was saying, but he wasn't actually interested in anything she was saying or really getting to know her like that, because he was so hormonally driven to have sex with her. It's like he just couldn't stand it. It just burned him up to listen to her. How can anybody like that possibly be capable of falling in love with somebody? Because you can't even see the person in their entirety. You're so hormonally driven. And he told me he would just sit up and constantly think about sex. I've never had that experience as a woman. I think as women, we more so, like, how it works with us is like we might have certain times of the month where our body makes us think about it a little bit more, but not enough to just be like, I'm gonna hunch on the first thing that comes along, right? A lot of the times with women too, our desires are kind of driven based on whether or not there is a man in our life who makes us desire them, right? Am I saying that's all women? No, but I'm going to say that's the vast majority. Another thing that she kind of, let me see if I can get to it. Another thing that she kind of talks about is a lot of women will play more promiscuous than what they really are in an effort to get men to like them. Right? So it's like, I want to be the free. It's part of it is competing with other women. Part of it is trying to keep a man's attention. I'm going to be the freakiest, dirtiest, grimiest woman so that you keep coming back to me. But honestly and truly, if she could have that solid, stable relationship with a man without having to be all that and be secure in her position with him, she probably wouldn't act like that. Let me see if I can find it.
Because women are scared of slut shaming, or, you know, that there's like a social penalty for women.
Dominant sort of sexual aggressor, or the.
So yes, but not animals that are similar to us. So like spiders or something like that.
Okay.
In terms of other primates, I mean, there is variation with other primates. Bonobos are quite into casual sex, for instance. Bonobos are quite different.
Because people do get a little bit triggered, because you're not saying that women don't enjoy sex at all.
No.
You're not saying that they aren't as horny in certain situations as men, but you're just saying on average, men are more keen on casual sex than women are.
Yes. Yes. And there are always outliers.
Of course.
I mean, you're talking about overlapping bell curves, right?
Yeah.
So the average is different. But the thing with overlapping bell curves is it's more obvious at the tails.
Mhm.
So for instance, like people who buy sex or people who become addicted to porn or something, they're basically entirely male, because you're talking about this sort of tippy tail of people who really, really desire sexual variety. Most people obviously are not out there. Most people are somewhere in the middle. But when you're talking about culture, you need to be thinking about the big picture. You need to be thinking like, okay, what does a culture of casual sex, how would a culture of casual sex affect men and women differently?
And how does it affect women differently? Because if you're saying that it's innate, it's not a sort of social construct. There's something deep within our wiring in men and women that makes us have a different sort of proclivity towards sex, casual sex.
Okay, and Princella has talked about these biological wirings and differences. It's called sexual conflict. This has been studied in biology. There are peer-reviewed journals on what not only Princella is saying, but what this woman is saying as well. I'm going back to Tasha K saying that the information is unverifiable. It is verifiable. Read. Hey D Mally, thank you for popping in. I'm glad to see you. We're talking about D Mally just to kind of catch you up, and anybody else who's just now joining in. I started off my video talking about that whole Princella and B Taylor drama. Now I'm talking about kind of comparing the information that this sexual expert that went on the Diary of a CEO was talking about. And I'm kind of comparing that to a lot of the things that Princella has said. Okay. I'm going to open it up in a second to do a panel, but I'm just going to finish up a little bit here and then we'll move to that.
Why does that have a consequence that's negative for women?
What's up?
Hi, Jira. We brought you here today to...
Basically, what women are more likely to want is monogamy, like not necessarily marriage, but certainly signals of commitment. If you think about this in terms of our evolutionary history, it makes perfect sense, right? Because having sex is pretty much the most consequential thing a woman can do, right? Because if you get pregnant, you've got 9 months of pregnancy, which is risky in itself. Childbirth, which is very risky in the ancestral environment, less so now, fortunately. And then you've got maybe 15 years or something of having to look after a child.
Do y'all see how the risk, y'all see how that's risky? And then you got men, you had men like Kevin Samuels telling women that if they go on a date after what he say, 5 o'clock, that sex should be on the table, as if this is the game, as if this is something to play with. This is nothing to play with. And people trying to make it seem like it's an even exchange. They're not having an intellectually honest conversation about the sexual conflict that exists between men and women.
Till it's capable of being economically self-sufficient. That's an enormous right thing to happen in your life. Whereas, and it also means that women can only really reproduce once a year, absolute max, right? Whereas men, in theory, can reproduce thousands of times a year and can have basically no involvement in raising the children, but take basically no risks whatsoever. So if you look at it in those terms, of course, women would be pickier. Of course they would. And that is indeed what we see. But I think that the reason that young women express so much unhappiness at the moment with the sexual culture is that a lot of young women kind of go along with it. That they I know this is kind of surprising to men, right? And I've spoken to men about this who find this completely bemusing. They're like, if you don't want to have sex, don't have sex. It's fine. Like, what's the big problem? Like, women are so lucky because they can't step out onto the street without being propositioned. They can have, they have so much choice. Like, you girls are so lucky. What are you complaining about? And I think it's this problem that two problems. One is that both sexes are not necessarily very good at understanding what the other sex actually want. And that's partly comes from the fact that I don't think we're honest enough about sex differences. So like men think that the fact that women can get casual sex at any time of any day is amazing.
It's like we're not honest enough about the sexual differences, and then when you try to explain it, there's a level of denial. I can't, like, I've tried to explain to so many men exactly what this woman just said, that most women are not as freaky as you think they are. They just go along with it. Or you do have those outliers of women, or you have women who are, so they started getting touched and messed with so long that they think that their only value is in what they can bring to the table sexually. So that's what they lead with, because that's the only time they get attention from men. And I have tried to explain this to men so much, and they want to argue with me. So it's like, if you're too busy arguing with somebody, you can't understand their point of view. Okay. Same thing is what she's tried to explain about male sexuality. If you try to tell women about it, they don't want to accept it. They want to live in delusion and fairy tale land. So then what happens is you end up getting a whole bunch of confused people trying to date each other. For example, I was watching Austin Holloman doing a live, and he was telling me how he was talking to this girl on Tinder. Now, if women understood how men work, most of us wouldn't even get on Tinder. Okay. A lot of women get on Tinder really thinking that it's a dating website, and then they're supposed to go on there and find the love of their life. Yes, I do know there are women who go on there that do hookups, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of the women who get on Tinder, I'd probably say the majority are delusional. So I didn't know until I learned how a lot of men think that, duh, that's a hookup site, right? Men go on there thinking that men don't go on there to date. So he was trying to set up a little appointment with this girl, see this girl, and you could tell, like, he's reading her text and how she's interacting with him. She's wants to go on a date with him, but then she's trying to figure out, okay, well, does he just want to sleep with me? Girl, duh, he just wants to sleep with you. But because you don't understand men and how men work and think, you don't understand that you don't even need to be on this website right now. Okay. So again, and then Austin's confused about how he's acting because he can't figure out that the girl is asking him all these questions, trying to figure out if he just wants to smash or if he's really trying to find somebody to have a relationship with. A whole bunch of confused people interacting with each other and creating frustration in each other's lives.
And women are like, but I don't want that. That's like horrible. I don't want to shag some random man on the street, right? So there's that gap in sort of there's that empathy gap. And similarly, I think women have an empathy gap. Like they probably don't realize how many men basically don't have access to any kind of sexual relationships and feel incredibly resentful and frustrated about that. They don't realize how scary it is for men to approach a woman, things like that. So there's like a mutual sort of incomprehension. And I think the other thing is men find it very hard to imagine doing what a lot of young women do, which is basically going along with sex that they don't really want to have because they want to be polite and because they don't want to scare off a man who maybe they do fancy, and because they don't want to be uncool and because they don't want to be weird and they don't want to be a prude. You know, one of the features of teenage girl psychology, and maybe this is into the 20s as well, but particularly teenage girls are so concerned about what's normal. Whenever you have contagious mental illnesses, which like historically are quite common, so something like the Salem witch trials, apparently girls are now getting Tourette's from TikTok because it's like a viral thing on TikTok.
Okay, when you think about the rise in I don't want to say the wrong thing here. If you think about the rise in people who want to be the opposite sex than what they are born in, you see the biggest rise in teenage girls who are being affected. And I'm not saying that is not like a real thing that some people like. I don't want to get into that. But what I'm saying is you see that influence of if it is just a fad or a phase for some people, you see that rise biggest in teenage girls. Sexy Red and Gloria prove your theory wrong. How did they prove my theory wrong? Because Sexy Red was on a podcast talking about how she got SA'd and all that. She was born in the hood. Matter of fact, these are perfect case studies. Okay. Let me tell y'all, I grew up in a not so good environment. I can tell you the type of music that we listen to, especially when you came up as a millennial, right? If you're a girl and you like boys and you like being in heterosexual relationships, then you want to do things that make boys like you, right? All the music that we were listening to, the rap music that we were listening to growing up was Bust It Open, Bend It Over, Shake That. This was before Glorilla and Sexy Red. Okay. This was us. I don't know if you're from Dallas, you know anything about Dallas Boogie. This is us listening to Young Nation. Okay. This is us listening to Lil Ron, Lil Will. This is us listening to, this is the music. These are the music videos that we're watching. This is the stuff that we're being encouraged to do when we go to house parties. And then of course, you want all the boys to pay attention to you. You want to be the girl getting chose. Okay. That's what they told you had to do, to be seen, to get chose, to get attention. So I'm not surprised that Sexy Red and Glorilla are products of their environment. They're not gay. They want male attention. And then on top of that, that's what's selling now. That's the culture. That doesn't mean that women have, and then again, these are just two women. That doesn't mean that women in totality have higher sex drives than men or view sex the same way that men do. This is a subset of women. Back that ass up. Come on now. And then like, if you was the one backing that ass up, you was the one getting all the attention and all the praise. It's kind of like with social media now, how you have the regular good girls who are getting overlooked, who don't get on social media and take all their clothes off and who cover themselves and are not twerking. They don't have as many followers as the girls who are bent over twerking and don't have clothes on. And the men demonize that, but that's what is getting attention in mass. So it's not like women are making this up in their mind. This is what the men are saying that they like. Women who are straight, unless they've had good guidance and unless they've had people to tell them correctly and maybe was raised in a better environment, you're gonna see women more times than not falling into the trap of thinking that that's how they should behave if they want men to like them. My Dougie, come on now. God, what he saying in the song, I like the way she working it. Ass thin, right? So it's like magic when she twerking it. Come on now. I was listening to this in the 9th grade.
Hysteria in the 19th century, anorexia. There's a lot of examples of these, right, where mental illnesses, which are seen to be socially contagious, people catch it from each other, you end up with this mimetic effect. They always start with teenage girls, always. Sometimes they spread to other groups, but teenage girls are always like the first, And I think it's because teenage girls, probably for self-protective reasons, there must be some adaptive reason here, are very, very socially sensitive. They're very constantly aware of their social position, what other people are doing, what's cool, what's not cool, obsessed, which is also translates to things like fashion and slang. Slang, ditto, a lot of slang starts with teenage girls because they're this very mimetic group, right? Mm. And that's fine, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does sometimes have bad effects. And one of them is, for instance, the idea that being a prude is incredibly cringe has taken hold really, really effectively among this group of girls.
Let me tell y'all something. There are certain things that I just don't do. I don't care how popular it gets or if they're singing it in a song. Like, there are certain things, even with a man that I'm with and I'm comfortable with, there are certain things that's just filthy to me. Like, to me, sex is not a dirty thing, right? It should not be something that you feel impure about. It's not nothing. And I'm not saying it gotta be boring. I'm just saying, like, I shouldn't get up from a sexual experience and feel like you just went to the toilet on me, or we just did, even like literally or in the figuratively, like, and men will say, oh, you're prudish, stuff that if you would speak out loud 15 or 20 years ago and said that you did, people would be like, you're disgusting. If you say it now in 2024 that you don't do that, then you're a prude. So it's like the bar is getting lower and lower. And part of that is because the women used to keep the sexual morality in check. It was certain things that women just was not doing in the bathroom. Now you have all these women who are competing with other women sexually, who can be the nastiest, who can be the freakiest, and who can be the dirtiest. It was Janae Aiko that came out and made that song, but he got to eat the booty like groceries. That was a whole woman that said that. So it's like you got these women competing who can be the freakiest, to where now if you don't do certain things that just used to, people will look at you crazy, men and women, if you said that you did that 15 or 20 years ago. Now if you're like, I don't get down like that, you're a prude. You don't, so now you have an additional pressure to race to the bottom. Hey, Juicy Fruit. Thank you. When someone say they don't do something, they usually do. I can't speak for other people. With certain things, I'm really like that. Like, it's certain things I'm just not doing. But if your experience has been people saying they don't do stuff that they, then I can't, that might be your experience. I can see what you're saying with that, but it's certain things I'm just not gonna do. And I'm gonna stand on that. Like, it's certain things I'm like, for example, like, you could never pee on me. Like, you could never pee on me. You just can never do that. I have never and will never be in the bedroom with just more than me and my man. Like, I'm not having no threesomes. I'm not doing it. Yeah. I mean, but I have had people tell me that I am Omar, I've had people tell me that I'm prudish. Because I said I don't do that and haven't and will not. That I'm a prude. Which is wild. I just thought that was regular behavior. I don't know, regular boundaries. Yeah, it's certain things that you just can't fold on. It's just certain things. I don't care how much I love a man at the end of the day. And I'm even more like, I was already like that in the bedroom, like younger, and now that I'm older and I put me before. I don't care how much I love a man. This relationship can end. I gotta walk away from this relationship and be able to look at myself in the mirror. It's certain things I'm not doing. Yep, that's true. Everybody has their limits. Okay, guys, what I'm gonna do is, let me stop sharing this screen. I'm done with that. I would like to drop the link in the chat and invite y'all to come up and we can talk about the things I've discussed today. You don't have to cam up. So you don't got to worry about, looking cute. If you got your bonnet on, that's fine. You can just get on here with your phone and talk. I'm going to ask that you try to and I know we're talking about subjects that it's kind of hard not to be a little bit vulgar, but as much as you can, try to clean up the language. If it's 2 men's, 1 woman, that's not. Well, that's your opinion on that. I don't see the difference. I kind of see the difference because then I'm thinking like both of the men, y'all definitely get, y'all definitely not straight. I'm gonna get fired like Ninja Turtle. Are you working? Come on, y'all. Y'all come up. Somebody come up. Y'all be acting scary. Please remember to hit the like button. I'm gonna give y'all a couple minutes to get up here, and then I'm gonna get on off of here, y'all. These lives, they really be as interesting as y'all make them. The more y'all interact, the more y'all talk, the more we can keep the conversation flowing. But I can't keep talking to myself. Then I look crazy. Then y'all be going on other people's platforms saying something wrong with me. Oh, D Mally. Okay. Hey, D Mally.
Hold up.
Okay.
Hold up.
Okay.
Let me pause this. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How
Does it
are
sound
you?
windy? I'm outside.
I hear a little wind, but it's not bad. It stopped now.
Okay. I'm good. How y'all doing? What's up, chat?
Good.
I'm about to be in the house in a minute, but I wanted to click up here before you got off.
No worries. You know I don't be acting no way about that. How you been?
I'm good. I'm good. You know,
Okay.
my dog just passed a couple weeks ago, so you
Oh
know,
no, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, I had him for 8 years, so it's a bittersweet thing, but now I kind of have my life back, so see what this next chapter is going to bring for me. So it's kind of like the conversation that's being had is kind of appropriate. I'm ready to participate. What we talking about?
Okay. Well, first of all, let's acknowledge your dog. Rest in peace. What's his name?
His name was Cotton.
Rest in peace to Cotton. Okay. And next time I drink,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna pour one up for him for real. I'm not playing.
Appreciate you.
Yes. Okay. So basically, what we're talking about today is the fact that these sexual differences between men and women do exist. What I said is what Princella is saying is not radical at all. And basically what she said is, this is what she said. She's talked about the sexual differences between men and women, which again, it's not brand new. This is not new information, right? I remember reading about these differences in psychology books and biology books when I was in college. It's not new information. I think the issue that people take with it, the main point of contention is that she says that men are incapable of love. Like men who are so basically, if you're so focused on sex and you can't even get the sexual needs met, and I think we all can agree they done outed themselves on the internet. There's a large number of men who cannot even get their sexual needs met. How can they see a woman as a person to be loved and cherished when they're not even getting what's a basic need for them met? So it's being seen as such this radical idea, but I've had men, like I was talking about this date I went on with the guy, and he was telling me because when now it's changed since he's old, and he said this is before I even heard of who Princella was. He said, now that I'm getting older and my testosterone has lowered, I can sit and talk to women and not be constantly worried about sex. He was like, but when he was in his 20s, he just could not wait for women to shut the fuck up so that they could have sex.
Yep. I was gonna say that. I was just say I'm 45 plus. I don't look 45 plus, but I am, and I agree with that. I think as I got older, I wanted a more of a conversation before and afterwards than just thank you, ma'am. You know what I mean? Because as a man, you start to feel a little cheap when it's just one night stand, or you know what I mean? Because I don't know, you kind of if you do that, if you live in a community, like I live in a metropolitan area that was, pretty, you have a small social circle, so you don't know what people are saying behind your back. When you hit this one, hit that one, so you think, oh, I can get mine or whatever. But people talk,
Yeah.
They might say what you did in the bedroom. So you might holler at a certain female and they looking at you sideways, and you might think like, oh, why is she looking at me like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
men have to be careful. You know, we all got to be careful. We can't be throwing it around. But like you said, when you're in your 20s, you know, the hormones is just going wild. You're free for the first time in your life. You know, you basically choose whatever you want to do with your life. So, you know, I think a lot of people take advantage of that, you know?
Yeah, let me ask you a question. So, are there certain women that you dealt with in your 20s that now that you've gotten older, your hormones have kind of changed, you've gotten more mature, gained some life perspective? Do you look back on these women and see them differently?
Not really. I mean, there was definitely
Okay,
some it was some, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. There was some females that I definitely was just, you know, for the time being. And then there was
Hmm.
some that that I actually wanted to be with, but you know, I was in a situation where I was, you know, I was basically unfaithful to somebody, and they probably were unfaithful to me too. We were together for 10 plus years, and
Mm.
I think we both kind of like did our little thing on the side, and I just never asked her, and she never really asked me. So we, I don't know,
Wait,
it was a
so
weird
you're just
thing.
assuming? Hold on, wait. So hold on, wait. Okay, so you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
for
yeah,
facts you was unfaithful to her. Are you
yeah.
assuming that she was unfaithful to you because you know you was unfaithful to her, or do you
No, no,
feel
no,
like
no, no, no,
okay?
no, no, no. I didn't assume she was unfaithful because I was, but there was a lot of tendencies that she had where I would figure out that she was like somebody had got at her and she actually gave him the number. So you know, and she would bust herself out real quick. Like, you know, I'd be like, oh, why you didn't tell me you love me? Oh, you know, I don't,
Yeah,
da 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 da. So then next, you know, I'm at her house and some dude, I hear a voicemail coming in on, you know, back in the days when the voicemail was
okay,
out loud, you know what I'm saying, on the house phone or whatnot. I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah,
So
you gave him your number and everything, huh? You know what I'm saying?
uh,
So when
yeah, okay, yeah.
I was gonna break up with her at that time, but she begged me not to break up with her. So in my heart, I was like, you know what? Then I'm just gonna be dude. I'm just gonna do me.
Oh,
And
I
I
see.
think and I think she kind of accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
For how long we was together, I couldn't believe she accepted it. You know, because she knew I was doing my thing. I used to go to the club every night.
Dang. Well, she probably accepted it, like, because what you were saying, women find ways to cope. That's why me
Yeah,
personally, I can't, women find ways to cope. So a lot of times if a woman is with a man for years and years and he's been cheating on her, 9 times out of 10, she's either cheating back, or another thing I'll see those type of women, like if they're being faithful, it's because they go to church or something like that, like, but she don't sound like she was a church going type.
but
So
I'm gonna tell you one thing. So we
hold
were,
on, real
and
quick, D
oh yeah,
Mally.
yeah, yeah,
I just want to say hey because I brought Juicy Fruit up. I just want to acknowledge her. Hi,
yeah,
Juicy
yeah.
Fruit.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. I'm good. This is my first time actually tuning into your channel. I just discovered you, just came across you.
Oh,
So
great. Well, welcome to the channel.
yeah, thank you. I'm excited about finding you. So yeah, I don't want to interrupt the gentleman. He was talking. Thank you for
Yeah. We'll let
acknowledging.
him finish, and then we'll
Okay.
Uh,
we'll loop you into the conversation. Okay.
Okay, cool.
welcome, Juicy Fruit. So I
Thank
was
you.
gonna say she had. I'll just give you one example, and I'll come back whenever. So when I went to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went to Europe like 2 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
basically I went to Amsterdam for like 4 days. So she knew that. So when I
Mm-hmm.
came back, she was like, I know you was getting some, you know what I'm saying, getting some little ass or whatever. And I was like, nah. I was like, to be honest with you, I wasn't even turned on by that stuff. I was just out there smoking and just walking around and, you know, just sightseeing. I was like, I don't care about that. You know what I mean? So I think she kind of knew I do my thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely don't do, you know, I definitely didn't do nothing when I was in Amsterdam. I ain't paying for nothing, you know, I ain't tricking like that. But anyway,
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I get it. Um,
But you
Let's
know,
see.
you know what it was? She was attracted to me. I think she loved me because she knew that I can pick up. Like in my 20s, she knew that other women like me. So
Yeah.
that's why I was valuable. That's what it was.
That, you know what? If women know that other women like you or find you attractive, they will. A lot of women will stay with you, even though they might not even want to be with you anymore. Because a lot of it comes down to possessiveness more so than anything. Like, I've heard of women being with a man, not wanting to sleep with him at all for whatever reason. Could have been she just sick of him and his behavior and stuff she done, but not leaving
Hmm.
because she just don't want to see him with another man. And we say men do that, but women do that too. And a lot of the times, women know that men will have an easier time going out and finding another woman, not because women just tend to be more pickier, to be honest. So men will go find another chick really quick, whereas a woman, we take more time, we vet, we have more requirements and standards. So you might leave your man and be single for a year, 2 or 3 years, and he might have a new chick a couple weeks later. And a lot of women, they don't want to see that. They
You
don't
know,
want to have to see that.
it's funny. I think, I think when we talk about these subjects, it's so true and untrue
Hmm.
because it could happen anyway. It could happen anyway. I had situations where
Yeah.
one of them broken up with me, and I didn't get with nobody, and she was back with somebody quick. So I don't know. I don't know. It could vary by like the culture
It could
of
vary.
it could be
Yeah.
the culture of the place that you live in, or you know what I'm saying. I
Okay,
just
I'm
I
gonna
just feel
say
like
this. I feel
it's so many things can happen in this situation. You know what I mean? But go
I
ahead, go
feel
ahead.
like I do feel like it could vary. Like, don't get me wrong. I've seen it work the other way around.
Hmm.
I feel like more commonly than not. For example, okay. And then when it does work the other way around, it's for different reasons. So a lot of times when I see a woman break up with a man, or they break up and the woman has a new boo, it was because the dude was already in the picture. If the dude is there like a week later, or a lot of the times it be because she's trying to emotionally get over the last one, right? And with men, I think men, a lot of it because they might be trying to emotionally get over the last one and don't want to be alone, but I feel like just in general, I know there are outliers and it does happen the other way around. But in
Hmm.
general, at the very least, men are quicker to go sleep with another woman.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
women be
yeah.
worried about that. At the very least, men are more quick to. I had a man, let me tell y'all, I had a man break up with me. It wasn't even, and I was crying, bawling my eyes out. I was so distraught. Y'all, we hadn't even been broke up for a whole month. And within that month, he had already slept with one of his coworkers. I just couldn't believe it because I would never be able to do something like that. But oh my God, that was traumatizing for me, to be honest. But then I had
Mm.
to realize it just wasn't about me. He probably just, part of the reason why he broke up with me is he was on his Donnell Jones. He was like, I'd rather leave than to cheat. Okay, so he left, and he probably been eyeing her the whole time they've been working together, and just needed to scratch that itch and didn't want to feel bad about it.
Mm.
Facts. So let me loop Juicy. Did you have anything that you wanted to say?
Um, yeah, man, I don't know. The conversation keep going, and y'all keep and they keep we keep talking. Y'all keep finding more things to talk about.
Okay.
I don't know. I was a little late
Okay.
into the conversation. I think when I came in, you were talking about just like young teenage girls and the pressures and things that sometimes they feel like they have to do in order for a guy to like them, and and how women, men are seem to have more attention for the women who are scantily clad and doing the most or whatever, you know. And I just feel like my mother always taught me to hold tight to your standards, and just because somebody else is doing something don't mean you do it too. And
Facts.
I know as when I was younger in my 20s coming up, I remember I was dating this guy, and most of the men in my life that I dated, I was fortunate enough that for the most part, they felt comfortable enough to tell me about their past and different things that they had done in their past and, things like that. Hold on a second.
Let me mute one.
Sorry, I'm cooking and everything.
No, don't worry.
But I remember I was, dating this guy, and he told me, some things about his past that he had done with other women, and some of it was like, ooh, like clutch your pearls, like, ooh, you did that, like, And so, after the conversation, I was honest with him, and I was like, listen, I like you, but based on what you told me, some of that stuff, baby, I'm just not gonna be able to do. I just don't get down like that, and I really want to make sure that you're satisfied. Sex to me is important. So, if I don't feel like I can please my man, or, if I know there's something that he's really into that I'm not, then we need to talk about this. We might have to part ways. You know what I'm saying? He was like, wait a minute. He was like, hold on. Look, I was just telling you that because I thought we were sharing. He was like, I wasn't telling you that because I expect you to do what they do. He was like, I had that experience. It was an experience. It is what it is. If I don't ever do that again, I don't need to do it again. He was like, I'm not basing you off of them, and I don't want you to do that. Like, whatever you do is what you do is good enough for me. That's why I'm here. That's why we dating. So, after that, I always walked away from that. I just thinking like, look, I got to hold tight to what I know. There's some things that I do that some women would be like, oh, I would never. You know what I'm saying? And then there's, and some women have told me that, like, oh, you do that. You know what I'm saying? And then there's other things my friends have shared with me, and I'm like, girl, no. You know what I'm saying? But I've just found that the men that I've been with, for the most part, they honest enough to tell me, like, look, I'm good with what you got right here. And so that always made me feel confident enough to know that I don't have to push past my boundaries to do what I see some other woman doing. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? The women that be eating men's booties and eating child, listen, if it make you if you into that, you know what I'm saying? But that's not, that's not something I'm gonna do.
I can't do it, sis. Me personally, but
let me tell you. I'm sorry. I know I'm talking, but let me tell y'all a true story. This really happened to me. Now, this really happened to me. I was dating this man. This really happened to me. Hand to God. I was dating this man, and we haven't dated for like 6 months. It was cool. We was doing good, whatever. And one night, we getting it in, and all of a sudden, I'm giving them, I'm doing my thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm serving him up, right? So, all of a sudden, nigga lift his legs up in the air. Both
no.
Hand to God. Nigga lift both of his legs up in the air like he was a baby, and I was getting ready to change his diaper. So I'm confused. I'm like, what you doing? You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't never seen no man cocked ace deuce like this. So I'm trying to.
Girl would have fell out.
Girl, I'm like, okay, maybe his head is just too good for him, and he don't lift his legs up or something. Because my skills is like that. So I'm like, okay, well maybe girl. So then I said, well, what's it? I hear him say, lick my blah blah blah. Right? I said, huh? He said, lick. I said, who? He said, who else is in this room, girl? I'm talking to you. I must have jumped up off that shit. So I jumped up out that bed. I was up, standing up straight out the bed. He was like, wait, what's wrong? I was like, did you just, he was like, yeah, yeah, but if it's cool, you don't have to do it. Come on. He wanted to keep going, but my head was messed, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, oh,
you already can't see him as a whole man after that no more.
We was done after that.
We was done.
We was done after that, baby.
It's over. It's a wrap.
It wasn't even just the fact that he asked me to do it. I mean, that was bad enough. But to see a grown man with his legs up in the air, like he was the woman, I was like, oh no. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not just up straight. I mean, up and open, sis. like you and I would be doing. You ain't opening your legs up the way I'm opening my legs up, and who's the man? Nah, man, nah. So
So let me tell you, the first time that happened to me, the girl actually turned me around. So I'm happy. I ain't gonna sprawl my legs up like that. But my thing, I was gonna just say, sometimes we should talk about things before we get into the moment. Don't you
That's
think?
facts. I think so. I
I
think
agree.
we don't have enough And first of all, before I go into this, I wanted to say hey to Angela Reddick and Southern Belle, who just entered the chat recently. And I do agree, Angela. Dudes who get their groceries ate are one step away from being in the alphabet community. Okay. I don't want to say it's I want to say it's suspect. It's real suspect. Like I don't want to like you said that one step away. It's like how I kind of think of it is it's kind of like have y'all seen men who they started off watching corn really young and it's like it gets to a point where just regular stuff is not doing it for them. So they got to keep going to the next thing, keep going to the next thing, going to the next thing. That's how I kind of view all that, back end play. I feel like I feel like even if the man don't start off that way, eventually it's a slippery slope. Now you slide in that direction because guess what? Like for example, I knew a guy who he was into. They call it scat play, which is basically he likes the number two. He likes
Mm.
that. Like he likes playing in it. He like all that, right? And my whole thing is when it's going to be very difficult to find a woman, especially like a woman who's like attractive, got her stuff together, that is also into that. There is a community where you can go to where you're more likely to find people who are down for that because that's what they deal in anyway. It's going in the rear. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's so that's what I'm saying. I feel like even if they don't start off that way, they're gonna go where it's easier to get that kind of action. And I feel like with women kind of moving more towards that back end play, they don't understand that now you're competing with gay men at this point. Like you know what I'm trying to say? It's like whereas it used to just kind of like be, you know, I don't know. They don't understand you're doing things that these men were going to gay men to get, and
Mm.
now it's expected of you when these men would have been just going to men to get it anyway.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree
I
with
don't.
you.
I don't see being gay that interchangeable. But
I don't think,
you
and
know,
let me be
you
clear,
know.
I don't think it's all the way. I don't think every man that engages in anal is gay. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying I feel like once you start that, it's easier to open a door towards
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. You
That makes sense. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. I hear that. I was gonna say, it's funny that in this conversation, the back door talk is always the elephant in the room, huh?
I
Yeah,
just
I think so.
I agree with her that in a sense I just think it really comes from the perversion of overexposure of corn that I think, has happened over the course of men, you know, especially since the internet and things like that. Or people just in general. I think it's infected and influenced people, men and women into thinking that something like that is okay. And again, it's no judgment, but in my mind, I think about it from the biological standpoint. Like, I mean, there's so many germs and different things. You know what I mean? Like, why would you even want to play back there? So you dealing with the scientific biological point of how that's just not healthy or safe. Then, like you said,
Hmm.
you add the component of, now you're pushing the boundaries. Every time you push your boundaries out further, like she said, you will find yourself closer to something that, you really don't want to get into. And then we do have these questions about, well, like, are these men gay or not, or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too much.
Or even that, like, okay, my whole thing is this. I have no doubts, without a shadow of a doubt, like, even if I have a man who is not, like, let's say I'm dealing with a man who does something, who likes all that, and I don't think he's gay, he hasn't done any gay activities, I'm not gonna put it past this man that if he like locked up or something like that for a long period of time, that you gonna be letting dudes run up in, or you gonna be running up in dudes, like, because you're already, you know what I'm saying? And then to try to restrict you for a long period of time, why? When it's so easily accessible. And I think we live in a culture where we think that just because something is pleasurable, that we should be doing it. And I'll put it to you this way. I'm pretty sure people that are into bestiality find that action to be pleasurable. That's why they're doing it, right? But that don't mean you should be doing it. Everything that's pleasurable ain't meant to be indulged in. You feel me? And again, I'm not going to, I guess, again, we're talking about two consenting human adults here. But at the same time, when you really think about it in terms of hygiene, it's not that much different, to be honest. So I don't know. I feel like these conversations about, not even just that, people don't talk about how you're 18 times more likely to catch HIV through the back end than you are on the front end. So we're not even having these conversations in terms of health wise.
I think it's
Yeah.
gotten a lot more popular in this era because it is a way of birth control.
Birth control.
Yeah.
What?
So I've heard of that. I even heard, like, when I was growing up, some like black boys that used to kind of like hit the white girls. I mean, lay down with them and stuff.
Hmm.
The girls would tell them, especially if they were expected to be, virgins and pure, to go in the back end. That way
Hmm.
they could still be a virgin and they don't have to worry about getting pregnant. So yes, people do use it as a form of birth control or as a way to maintain their virginity.
Juicy fruit. That didn't make sense to you as being a method of birth control.
No, not no good sense.
Yeah, like, I
I
mean,
mean,
would
I
I
don't know.
like, I mean, to me, I'd rather just abstain, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong with that. Like, nah, I'm good.
But
No,
I'm
okay,
I'm
good.
not.
let's
No, I'm
take
not. No, I'm not suggesting that anyone do it. I'm just saying people do that for birth control. That's a birth control method. You have a
they
pull-out
do.
method.
Nah, that don't make no
You had you.
sense.
No, I'm saying you had the. No, I'm saying you have methods though. You have the pull-out method. You have Plan B. You got condoms. That's just another method of. I'm just saying.
I'm
But
look. You
I
know
don't know.
what? I've always played it safe. If I wasn't in a serious committed relationship with a man, I always use condoms, and I ain't never had no problems, no STDs. I only been pregnant twice, and I done had both babies. That's it. So I don't like all that. To me, birth control. Nah, birth control is use safe sex or don't have sex, or
Oh
Okay,
have
yeah.
a have a have a
think
Well,
man
about
with
it
a
this way.
strong pullout game. It's got
well,
to
it
Think
be
sound
about
it
it
strong.
sound
this
it's
way. Wait. Think about it this way, Juicy Fruit, right? Let's say you're a girl and you grew up in a religious community and you've been told your virginity is like the most important thing you have going for you, right? But then remember in the video when you had the woman talking about how women want, especially young girls, are very impressionable and want to be liked and socially accepted. So let's say you're a young girl and you're dating this boy and you have this religious indoctrination in you, and he really wants to, wants to get it going with you, and you don't want to push him away. You don't want him to go date another girl, but you don't want to lose your virginity, so you compromise and let him go in the back end. That's oftentimes how that happens in those kind of communities.
Yeah, no, and I've heard that too. But I just,
Hmm.
so I know it happens. I'm just, the logic around it to me is just, and I think that's we got to get back to teaching our young girls, like, listen, what the standards that we teach them, we also have to teach them to hold tight to that and don't fall for the peer pressure or the my mother, when I was young, my mother taught me about a woman's reputation. You know what I'm saying? And how important that is. So, it wasn't just for me. It wasn't just about, holding on to my virginity because I didn't want to upset my parents. But my mother would tell me stories about, look, you see this girl in the neighborhood, they're over there talking about all of this and her that you don't want to be that girl where, you spread all over and everybody done had you. So it was like certain things like that. Like I just, that it affected how I moved as a young woman. You know what I'm saying? And I think we gotta teach our girls better because they shouldn't be falling to the pressures of having to do something and act like that just to be able to keep a boy or get a boy to like them. It's more to them than that.
That's why I'm gonna take it back to why I even made this video. That's why I messed with Princella's message so hard. I don't know if you're familiar with Princella on High Power Podcast, Juicy Fruit, but I rock with her message because there's so much freedom in the message. That's why I rock with this message that this lady, Louise, what's her name again? Louise Perry is talking about. We need to understand a lot of girls move the way they move with boys from a lack of understanding about boys and male nature, right? We feel like we can behave if we are um sexually free and we the freakiest person, if that man is gonna hold us in higher value and higher regard, when it's just not true. A lot of times, especially when the man is young, he's just using these girls for practice, honestly and truly. And it's like, okay, do you want to be valued or do you want to be used for practice? It's okay for you, but because we're not having these honest conversations, because we're not telling these girls, hey, it's highly unlikely these boys are even capable at this time in their life of loving you. It's very highly unlikely because at the end of the day, young girls want love, acceptance, adoration, and appreciation more times than not. That's the vast majority. But they're engaging in these activities thinking that it's going to be a means to an end that they're not going to get through behaving like that. But they don't understand that, and nobody's teaching them that. And then you have people, when you have people trying to say the truth, then they're being called extremist, you know and I don't like that. I'm fine with accepting. For me, I didn't free myself mentally of a lot of the self blame, or that, they call it that pick me mentality, until I came into the knowledge and the truth about how men are and how they view sex, and how a lot of men probably can't even see you because they're so focused on the sex, they can't even see you as a person. And once I came to like truly understand and accept that, that is when my whole life began to change. I mean, I moved to hell. After I learned that, I moved to a whole new country. Like, I started living for me, right? And not based on, feeling this sense of scarcity, like, oh, I need to find a man, or my time is running out, or I need to be valuable to a man. It's like, I don't even care. That's like in my men are just so far to the back of my peripheral now. And it's not because I hate men, it's because I understand that what I want and what most other men want are in direct conflict with each other. I'm not a lesbian. I don't want to date women. It's just true. Me and most men will never be able to be in a long-term relationship. So why waste a lot of my time trying to focus on that when there's so many other things I could be focused on? And if that happens, if it's in the cards for me, then fine. If it's not, I'm building a life that I actually love.
And you'll find a man will find you that, that goes along with that, that mindset or the way you're living. You know what I mean? It's just gonna come naturally, which is fine. You know what I mean? I think that's nice, which how you look at it.
I agree. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, I agree. I think the men who, what I've learned is, and I just want to say too, I wish more men would come out, and because I really feel like men should be teaching these young girls too, like, tell us the truth about you. Tell us
Mhm.
the truth. The reality is you don't respect women who give it up easily. You don't respect women who dress scantily clad. Tell these girls the truth so that they don't keep thinking that they have to act a certain way or look a certain way or be a certain way in order to get a quality man. Because that's the truth. The reality is men only love and respect and choose women with standards. Period.
Yeah.
And
So
even then, hold on, even then, that don't necessarily mean that they, even then, that don't, and I think this kind of goes back to, because when I talk to the young girls now, first of all, nobody's really talking to them about the whole respect piece these days. Like, that's out the window. But then when I see with a lot of young girls, they're like, well, my mom, don't cheat on my dad, or my mom don't dress in which, all, the scanty clothes, but my dad's still stepping out on her. My dad is still cheating on her. So it's a lot of young girls that's watched what their moms went through, even though their moms weren't necessarily the IG model types, like they saw coming up. And they're like, okay, well, what is the value in being picked if I'm just going to get dogged out anyway? I'd rather do the dogging out. So then there's that piece where it's kind of like women are still kind of making their decisions for their lives based on how men behave, right? It's very complicated, honestly and
I think
truly. And
just came in my mind. I think
Mhm.
women tolerate the man they love until they just get over it. Like, you know what? I'm over this shit. You know what I mean?
You know how women's mind work? Let me tell y'all how women's mind work. You might have a woman who she put up with you for 10, 15, 20 years cheating on her. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, let's say your testosterone start lowering, or you just decide you want to get your life together, for
Yeah.
you start doing
Now you
right.
want to come. Yeah, you want to come home now, right?
That is when the woman will leave you.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
when she's, because she's, first of all, she been over it forever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, that is when that woman, when you finally start doing right, that is when she I don't know. And it's kind of like for women, how it works is we just wake up one day and a flip switches off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a, and then you understand too, a lot of the times, like, I've seen a lot of men who kind of got older and now they kind of want to try to do better by their woman. But it's like,
Hmm.
you only doing better now because you're not as desirable. You done
Right.
got
Right.
older. You don't look the way you used to look. You want this woman to be able to take care of you. Uh as you age, so you don't stay on her bad side now. So it's like, women aren't dumb, we know what's going on, so a
You
lot
know
of
what?
times that's another reason why a woman will just be like, nah, this is the time to go.
Let me know if y'all agree with this.
Mhm.
Do you think a person experiencing people and dying around them actually makes them better in a relationship? Because they realize that life is not infinite. So if you're young, you don't really experience a lot of people dying. You kind of don't take life as serious. I get, you know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, you know what? I think I know what you're trying to say. I personally have never been in a relationship with somebody and then somebody important to them passed away and then
No,
that
no,
changed.
no, no, no.
But
I'm saying like growing up, like say a lot of people pass, like your grandmother passed when you was younger. I'm just saying when people pass, you kind of get a perspective on life. And
oh
sometimes
yeah.
people don't experience death in their family or close to them until they get older. So they kind of don't take life as, you know how some people are hella serious and some people are hella playful in life. So I feel like sometimes death can grow people up. Because
Yeah.
I've experienced a lot of death in the last 7 years, and I feel like I've matured a lot because I realized that time is of the essence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, actually, I knew a man who that happened to him. He had like four, mind you, this man is a serial cheater. Had
Mm,
like four he was thinking about him and his girlfriend were thinking about splitting. Then he experienced like 4 deaths in 1 year, and him and the girlfriend, they don't like each other.
Mhm.
I think they still don't like each other. But it was kind of like, because he had these 4 deaths, he was more like willing to work it out, try to work it out. I guess stay. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you know what I'm trying to say? I think like the death kind of just made him be like, okay, well, I've had this person in my life for a long time. You might as well try to like work it out. But yeah, I think death probably does put things into a different perspective. Now, me personally, as a woman, if I was dating a man and he had all these deaths in the family, and then you decide you want to start doing better, I understand death brings more maturity and perspective, but I'm the type of person, I want you to be faithful to me, because just based on principle, you want to be
Mhm.
a faithful person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just on principle. There are some men who, and I love how Tony Gaskins breaks this down. Men don't choose to be faithful to a woman, right? Because if you're just trying to choose to be faithful to a woman, you gonna fail all the time, because it's too much temptation. Like, you got to choose to be faithful based just on principle, right? So, for example, me, I don't cheat in my relationships. That's on principle. It's not that I love one man more than the next man, or no, it's just on principle. That's not how I want to move, you know. And once you decide to do something based on principle, then you won't do it. Sometimes you want to be with somebody who didn't cheat on you based on principle, like just the consequences, just on how I could hurt this person, not just because something tragic happened to you, when now all of a sudden you feel it, and now you know, want to do differently. Like, nah, I'm gonna skate every time. But I understand sometimes, let me tell you something. It's okay for you to learn some lessons and grow and mature and go be a better person for the next woman. You feel me? Like, that is okay.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I
But I
want to
also
address.
understand where he's
Go
coming
ahead.
from too.
No, I
Oh, I still
understand where you're
understand.
coming from too. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from too. I think sometimes what I was trying to say, D Malley, is sometimes like the damage be so bad and irreparable
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard for women to, like, in the long term. You might have some women that will stay, but like, women never forget. I know men think that we like forgive and forget all that, but that's why
Mm-hmm.
you'll have women who you might have cheated 10 years ago and ain't did nothing. She's still gonna bring that stuff up 10 years later. Women hold on to that, and I think more so than being upset with the man, we're upset with ourselves because we were too weak to go in the first place. It really be a us thing. Like, that
Mhm. Mhm.
disgust really be aimed towards us. And that's why a lot of times you'll see a woman who will get up and decide to leave even though you started acting right, because it's
Yeah.
more about a self evolution thing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's great. Anybody can decide to change their behavior at any time. I think you have to, when you do change that behavior, you have to do so with the understanding that I might have to, you know, like, I might not be able to stand on this with this woman. Like, I might have to, and I'm not saying don't try not to cheat for the rest of the relationship. I'm saying you might have to be okay with holding true to that principle for the next woman. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That's just the reality. Did you have something you want to say, Juicy Fruit?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I also wanted to address, so Angela, okay, so we talking about Princella again. So Angela, you're very aware of her. I was talking about at the beginning of this live, that fallout between her and B Taylor, and kind of how they're going about it now, and that interview that B Taylor did with Tasha K. And I'm gonna say this, Angela, I just want to make this very clear again. I've listened to both sides of the story. I think both of them was playing games at certain points. I do think that B Taylor, and you'll have to go back and watch the beginning of my video, is not ready to be completely honest. She says she's taking accountability, but she not ready to be honest and a grown woman about things. I'm like you. I listen to Princella. I agree with a lot of her viewpoints. Truth is truth if you see truth in it, right? But at the same time, nobody is above reproach. And I take issue with the fact that she's telling women to be comfortable with being single, but in a span of 2 years, she's had 4 relationships. With that said, that makes no sense to me. With that said, um, that don't mean the message is wrong. Okay. Now, this is what I don't like. When a message is true, I don't like people discrediting the person. Like, you can discredit the person and say that the person is wrong and flawed and messed up, but that don't detract from the message. That's just like a lot of people. And again, I'm not trying to get like religious here, because I believe that all religions have a golden thread that connects them together. Truth is truth. Natural law is natural law. So I don't argue with people about their religion, but I'll just bring up Christianity. That's just like a lot of people who went to churches where you have these pastors not living by what they preach, completely denouncing everything that's in the Bible. With a lot of it is good information that you can live by, completely denouncing the Bible when the issue was the person. Okay, so you got to be able to separate the message and the person. And as I was talking about earlier in my video, a lot of stuff that Princella is saying, she's not the only one saying this. There are psychologists and biologists with data, with studies, with empirical evidence that can back up the vast majority of the things she said. Matter of fact, she has even said this. She's just compiled the work and the information and studied it. So I feel like, that we got to be able to see the bigger picture beyond the relationship drama. And if you're a person who's like, hey, I don't want to listen to Princella anymore, I think that's fine. But the message, the message is true, whether you get it from her or you go get it from somebody else. Right. Priscilla has made some good points regarding her message. You have to eat the meat and spit out the bones. Yeah. And you got to see, this is how sometimes you got to test stuff out. If I want to see if something makes sense or not, first of all, I look around. Do I see this in my environment? Because your environment is the most important thing. I think too many times we're so focused on the internet that we don't go outside and touch grass. Do I see evidence of this in my real life? And how does this information affect me if I try to apply it to my real life? Does my life become better or does it become worse? So a lot of times you just have to test some information out just to see, versus being indoctrinized. Did y'all have anything I want to add to that?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm just kind of learning about Princella, so I don't know all of her ideologies and things that she talks about. But I can concur with what you said about we got to make sure that we're hearing the message and not necessarily focused on the messenger, because you gave that perfect example about pastors. That at the end of the day, we're all human beings, so we're gonna mess up. But if truth is truth, like you said, truth is truth. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not that familiar with her. But you said that she teaches that Black women or that women should be single.
No, so okay, basically if you want to look her up after this live,
I definitely will.
Yeah, she has a channel called the High Powered Podcast. So basically what she does is, now if you watch that video that I had, the sex expert Louise Perry, she basically says a lot of the same things. She's brought a evolutionary biologist as well as psychologists onto her channel, and basically what she tells women is that men are incapable of love. Now, I know that sounds like a bold statement. She has said in her videos that it's not that all men are incapable of love. It's just that so many, the vast majority, are incapable of love, that it serves you no good to think that you're always, some women, most women always think they're dealing with the exception to the rule. And she says that men are incapable of love because, on a base nature, men need sex in a different way than what we need sex, right? They need sex on a survival level. That's why you have a lot of men, when they don't get sex. If a woman don't get sex, we not finna go shoot up a schoolhouse or go kill anybody or go stab a girl who rejected us, a man who rejected us. That's not how we tend to behave, right? I'm sorry, y'all. People next door being extremely loud. That's not how we tend to behave, right? But and when we see men do it, it's crazy to, even when we see men get upset when we try to holler, they try to holler at us and we reject them, and then they start talking bad about us. That's just so crazy to us, right? So her whole philosophy is that men need sex at a level psychologically and physically that women don't. And when men aren't getting that basic need met, a lot of the times they can't even see you as a person. And even when they are getting that basic need met, a lot of the times they're so deficient in other areas like communication, right? And that's not something she's making up. Men and women don't communicate. We don't understand each other when we're communicating. It just is what it is. That it's hard for men to even see you as a whole person to even begin to love you. So her solution to these problems is, you can either understand this about men, stop complaining about them, and keep dealing with them. You can be single and be sexless. You can be single and self pleasure, or you can choose to date women, whichever one you want to do. But either one you choose to do, women need to understand that most of the men out here are just not capable of loving you, and focus on more important things that are beneficial to the planet instead of trying to get male attention and validation.
Oh wow. Okay. Um, well, I can agree with some of her think for as far as I think that men are incapable of love. I don't think that they're incapable.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I don't. But I do understand that they think about it differently than us. Yeah, they approach it differently than us. It's not, it's even a different priority to them. Like they, from what I understand about men, men
Mhm.
value respect over anything, over love, over anything. So I just think it's, to say that they're incapable, I think it's unfair.
I
Um,
Okay, so do you think
I just think they value it different. They look at it different. But to say they're incapable, like they can't love a woman, really?
okay, I'll say
think
this.
I think they should. Hold on, my bad. I think they'll. I
Uh-huh.
think men show love. Every man shows their love in different ways,
Mhm.
and you know that it's not always the blank. It's a blank. It's not always the same across the board. Every man, and I think some men feel like if they show love, too much love, it might make them vulnerable to certain things. You know what I mean?
Well,
Go
that's
through.
true. So I feel like, and I don't even want to get into. I don't feel like love is an abstract concept, right? So I think there are certain rules and principles of love that are universal. But let's say it is abstract and that men and women love differently, or what we call love is a
Hmm.
different thing.
Hmm.
The bottom line is that most men will never be able to love in the way that women want them to love them. So like
Right.
either way, let's say men are capable of love, they just love us differently. Either way, women are saying it's not good enough. And we genuinely don't feel satisfied or happy with the way they choose to show love. So let's say they do love us. It's not good enough. I'm keeping it real. I don't think, to be honest, I'm never, in the relationships that I've been in, I don't care if the men told me that they love me. I don't care what they did for me, a lot of the other things that they did in congruency with them telling me they love me or doing things to show that they love me, a lot of the other things that went along with that just were not good enough. Whatever, nothing that they did was good enough for me. Nothing, I was never happy. And I just had different expectations. And looking back, even now that I have an understanding of men, I would never be able to go back to those relationships and be in those relationships and be happy. So I guess my point that I'm making is, even if men are capable of, and they do love differently, we don't like the way that they love. We don't like the way that the vast majority of men are able to show that they love. And let's be honest, for most women, a man could be fixing stuff for us. He could be buying us things. He could be I don't know, he could even communicate with us well. But if he's not able to be faithful to us, we don't care. That alone wipes everything else out. Most of us will never be able to feel genuinely loved. If that man cannot be faithful to us, you might as well hang up all the other stuff you're doing. We do not care.
Yeah, I think the main thing with that is, I think instinctually, or the woman does not want a man to cheat because, say you have a baby with, the man needs to come and provide and, protect you guys, but he's out cheating. So instinctually, you guys don't want that. And the male doesn't want a woman that cheats because they don't want to find out 9 months later that the person they were carrying is not theirs, or even worse, 18 years later or 20 years later or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
both parties, have a big reason, have a good reason why they don't want their mate to cheat. You know what I mean?
That's true. Thank you, Southern Belle. And on top of that, for me, it's just a matter of loyalty. Like, I don't, and I've heard people try to define this in different ways. Like, a man can cheat on you and still be loyal to you, or a woman can cheat on you and still be loyal to you. I guess their definition of loyal is they not going nowhere. Sir, if you cheat on me, I want you to go somewhere. Go far away from me, because I don't want to be around no disloyal energy. Because you got to understand, with cheating come a lot of other things. Like, it comes a lot of pillow talk. It comes a lot of times that person talking your business with the other person. It comes with the other person thinking that they got one up on you, and that they know something that you don't know, and that you're lacking in some area. It comes with betrayal, and I feel like a lot of the times men understand betrayal when it comes to them not betraying their homeboys, or them not making their homeboys look bad, or them having their homeboys back. But when it comes to a woman saying cheating is betrayal, it's like men don't understand that's betrayal. That's the lowest of the low. Like, you know, they talk about being loyal to your homeboys, but you disloyal to the person that you come home and lay next to every night. Like, nah, that's betrayal. So for me, it's more simple than that. It's more like, I understand there are biological reasons for it. For a lot of women, they don't want a man to cheat because they don't want resources going out of the home to another woman, because that's what comes with that too. If a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times these side chicks, they're not gonna stay side chicks for years unless you put some money in their pocket. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that too. But for me, it really comes down to a matter of loyalty and principle. And I just can't rock with disloyal people, and not in life, in love, or in business.
Well, I think like, let's say you meet a, I, so, I think Juicy Fruit had said something earlier, and I had a situation where I met a woman online, and
Mhm.
I was being very candid with her because I want to be honest, because I don't know this person. So I just wanted to be, just have a conversation. And she kind of, and some of the stuff that I mentioned, she was like, "Oh, you're like that?" Or, "Oh, you do this?" I'm like, "Wait a second. I'm just telling you, like, we're trying to have a conversation. You're actually judging me by what I'm saying. So it's almost like it's hard for men to be honest with women. So sometimes that could be a communication barrier. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like being honest without being judged. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah. That's true. And I keep it all the way 1000, like D Malley. Like, women say that we want men to be 100% honest. Um,
but that's a lie.
but that's a lie. I'm gonna be That's a whole lie. Let me tell you
That's not
something.
true.
I think so. You know why you think it's not? Well, okay. I'm gonna tell you why I think you think it's not true, Juicy Fruit, and then you can correct me because I'm just making an assumption based on kind of what I've observed with other women. Um, I think women, I think women believe that we want men to be completely honest about their feelings, their thoughts, their desires, their fears, the stuff that they've done, because we don't think that it's as bad as it really is. Like, there are things, and I'm saying this like as a woman who, like, men come and talk to me. Like, men will come and talk and tell me all kind of things. And part of that is because I've learned to just let men talk, and I'll let a man talk for a long and run his mouth. And the whole time in my head, I'm just horrified, right? But I don't look horrified. I'm just nodding and smiling. Okay, we'll explain that. I don't look horrified, but I'm horrified. And the things that men were telling me that they've done or that they were into or that they think about and other men do, it brought my energy level down. So it plunged me into a deep depression. When I tell you the stuff that I witnessed when I was in Cartagena, Colombia last year, and the level of honesty those men brought to me, when I tell you I went into a deep depression, like a dark cloud was over me after listening to these men be completely honest about their thoughts and who they were and why they do what they do, I was like, I don't want to hear no more. Right? We think we want men to be honest, but that's because we don't really know. There's this book. When I think of the name, I might put it in the description, where these two men actually wrote it, and they were like, if you know, at the beginning of the book, they were like, if y'all want to know, ladies, if you don't want to know the truth about men, I suggest you put this book down. And if you want to know the truth, keep reading, but just know that it's worse than your darkest nightmares. These are two, for us it is. Other men might hear the stuff men talk about and be okay, or it might seem regular to them because they think about that kind of stuff too. But for us, it's too much. I don't want men to be all the way honest with me. Baby, lie to me.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of women feel like that. Because it is when you really start talking to men and you really start listening, like hearing their thoughts and views and the way they think about things and some of the stuff that it it is disheartening. It will turn your stomach. Some of that stuff, you like, damn boy. But at the same token, I've always admired and liked when a man was able to be honest with me and open up and share. And as a woman, I listen because honestly, men don't talk enough, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So anytime I sit next to one and he's actually willing to open up and tell me some stuff, and because guaranteed there's gonna be some gems in there, he gonna throw some game up in there for you. I'm always
Mhm.
grateful for it. So yes, it's disgusting. Yes, yes, as a woman, it goes beyond our feminine sensibilities. I get that. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I still rather the honesty. I still rather the truth. I don't need you to lie to me. I need you to be upfront. I want to know all the stuff you did in your past or what, if you're willing to share. And I think that's important. So yes, are there some women that are like, I think the problem is that women, I think we do want the truth, but they're not, they need to like stand 10 toes down and face up to whatever they gonna hear. You know what I'm saying? They got to be ready for that. They might hear some stuff that's gonna turn their stomach, but I would imagine that they would rather the honesty, at least some. At least
I see what you're saying, Juicy Fruit. I think okay. Men feel okay, so I think we think of this differently than men too. So you're thinking of it in terms of you want a man to be honest and you can provide a safe space for him to be honest and to be vulnerable and get it out. But and a lot of women can provide that for men, but the reality is, like you were kind of saying earlier about how a man kind of told you some things he did in his past, and though you might not necessarily have viewed him as like a bad person, you didn't want to move forward in a relationship with him. So men,
No, that's not true.
okay,
We
okay, go ahead.
continued dating. What happened was I made the mistake of trying to compare myself to the women in his past, and he
Oh, right,
politely
that's what you said.
he politely corrected me and told me, "Look, I'm with you now. That's not."
That's
And let's
right.
move forward. Yeah. So it
I
that I
apologize.
never. Yeah. No. That's okay. I think I've never. I think it's not smart. Um, I just don't like judging people. Period, male or female. So I don't really.
Okay, but is there something that a man could tell you that he's into or he's done in his past that would make you say, I don't want to deal with you? Because that's the real fear. The men fear the men fear the rejection and the lack of sexual access. It's not that they fear that you're gonna, you know, not be a safe space. It's more of a, is she gonna want to even continue to move forward with me, you know?
Yeah. And to be honest, I've heard some stories from men that I've been with that I'm like, ooh. And look, some of it, I'm a little bit of a closet freak. Some of that shit turned me on. I was like, ooh. But some of it,
okay,
I was like, oh, but it wasn't enough to make me oh, it wasn't enough to make me just throw the whole man away. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that I can honestly say that I know for a fact, if a man told me that I would probably, if he engaged like in any type of bisexual activity, anything with another man, for me, I would have to say no to that. Just because I couldn't trust that. I don't even know anything about that. Competing with another woman is one thing. Competing with a man and that whole thing, whatever, I don't know. So that
but
would
a
be
lot of men have done a lot. Man, let me tell you, when I've taught high
Don't
school,
put that on me.
I ain't gonna put it on you, D Mally. Okay, we not coming for you at all. But like when I tell y'all, okay, I used to teach at the high school, right? When I tell you, it's so many little boys that during their teenage year, and the little gay boys, they come tell it. They come tell it. They might not expose it to the whole school, but they'll, if you are a teacher that they can trust, they'll be like, oh, such and such is doing me like this and acting this way in front of his friends. And little gay boys come tell it. Like, you would be surprised the amount of boys who don't even look like they go that way. And it's like, you can never tell. That's the crazy thing. Like, you can't even tell. Like, some of it I could be like, oh yeah, I kind of peeped that little vibe off of him. But some of them I'm like, oh my god, like, you would be surprised at the amount of boys in high school that be messing with them boys. They be up in the bathroom, they be up in the school auditorium. Like, a lot of boys and a lot of men have that in their past, and they ain't never gonna admit to it or nothing like that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if I feel like if a lot of men be 1,000% honest with us about a lot of the stuff that they did, it would just be a wrap. It'd be a wrap,
You're right. I mean, like you were talking about earlier, some of the brothers that go to jail and they be gay for the stay. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you're right. We don't know. And again, I'm only talking about the things that they were open enough to share with me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, maybe there were some things that happened that I wouldn't ever know about. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how that is. But if they did happen to share that with me, that I know for sure that would be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. What you think about what we're saying, D Mally? Is he still there?
No, my bad. I was doing something.
No worries.
So when you said Yeah, that's that for most women. That's a non-negotiable to being with a guy in the past.
Hmm.
That's a non-negotiable.
Y'all
I don't.
like
I really can't. I really don't know about all that, so I can't really
My
speak
whole
on
thing
that. But
is, I'm like, did everybody forget what we learned in biology class and sex ed class? And you know what I mean? Like, we gotta, people just be cross contaminating and spreading, and
it's not that,
it's
girl.
not
It's
safe.
that. Let me tell you, it's that you gotta understand too. This is another thing that's going on, especially with the young kids these days. Don't get me wrong, and I want to be like, and I hope I'm not being disrespectful because I genuinely do believe, that there are some people who was born gay. I believe it's so. I believe that. But I also do believe that there are people who are influenced to start indulging in those activities. And then once they like the feeling, they want to continue in it. Okay. I don't think it's an either or thing. And I think what's going on is with the kids these days, they have that cell phone at their fingertips. You used to have to, when we were teenagers, if you were going to watch corn, you maybe had to like sneak through your parents' secret stash that they think you didn't know existed, right? Or the boys, you might have to get like an older, you know boy to go get it or something like that. These kids literally have it at their fingertips at any time. They start watching it super young. You gotta understand, like, a lot of kids, my daughter was begging me to get her a phone in the first grade. Kids have cell phones. So they've had access to these cell phones since they were like 6, 7, some even younger than that. And they've had that at their fingertips and they're just watching it. And then they're just going more and more down this rabbit hole and wanting to try all kind of crazy stuff. We live in different times,
I
yeah,
and they
agree.
not.
I agree. Our children
what
are
you
overexposed.
what you said about the young people being, bi curious and trying it out and stuff, or whatever. Like man, it's like you say. I kind of see it in like the hip hop, with the main artist, kind of being more androgynous now and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
it's almost like a society of tolerance where, remember it was kind of like a nerdy person kind of would get made fun of, but now it's like nerds get respect, you know what I'm saying? Because they got money or they're kind of smart.
Did you stop talking or you cut out?
Uh, the, the debate about are people born like that or is it the environment? You said now we're starting to see like, nah, you can actually become that. It's not even you born with it. Because my main example is people, got people that go to jail. You know what I'm saying? They were never, with the same sex, and then they went to jail and they all of a sudden became, you know what I mean? That was learned. They weren't born like that. You know what I mean?
I think you would have to, because, and again, this is the debate, the same debates that are being had like in mainstream popular culture, right? Where you have these one-sided arguments. They're not being had in a scientific and academic setting. So it's in agreement, even though they don't say it out, because you can't, because you're gonna piss one side off, right? The general consensus in the scientific community is that is both nature and nurture, that it could be either one. You could have somebody that has genes that like a gene that could express as homosexual, that never expresses. For those watching who don't know what express is, it means like it manifests, it shows outwardly. So for example, you could have a gene to be tall, but for whatever reason you were raised in an environment where you didn't get enough food, or you didn't it was a lack of nutrition or something like that, so that gene
it just me or is there no sound?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me? I can't hear her.
Yeah, I can't hear her either.
We can't hear you, lady. Can you hear us? She looked like she's working it out.
We can't hear you, Mariah.
There she go. I heard something. Oh, that's you.
You still there, Juicy?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I still don't hear her though. Oh, and Omar, I wanted to let you know because I saw your comment. The brother I was talking about that was cock ace deuce, he was black. That wasn't no white dude. Just so you know.
Yeah, I couldn't hear her on the YouTube stream as either.
Yeah, it looks like she's trying to figure it out.
Dang, what happened? That Colombian internet might rock a little different. They like, man, after 3 hours, we shutting you off. Damn, y'all. We can read your lips though.
Can you hear me?
Can y'all hear me?
There you go. Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Hold on. 1 second.
What happened? You
Y'all
don't know?
gonna talk about me so bad. Y'all gonna talk about me so bad. Don't talk about me when I tell y'all
Uh
this.
oh.
I had the damn thing on mute. Oh my god.
Oh, you was chopping real game for like 10 minutes, huh?
Dang.
On mute
Oh,
the whole time.
girl, I think I was on mute the whole time. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on, y'all. Okay, so I was talking about gene expression. So you could have somebody that genetically is supposed to be tall, has a gene that can make them tall, but because of their environment, it never expresses because maybe they were missing something, right? Like height. You have improper nourishment or something like that. Same way works with genes, right? Because they have found a gene that is common amongst people who are gay. So there are men who have a proclivity towards being gay. Now, depending on their environment, some or people just in general, that never expresses. So for example, you might have somebody who has a gene that could possibly express and then it turn into them engaging in homosexual activity. But if they were raised in an environment where they didn't necessarily see those things, or just it could be a various factors, it might never express. But then you might have somebody that has the same gene who maybe they started watching that kind of porn early, or maybe somebody touched them, or they had that influence around them. It's far more likely to express in that person. Then you have people who, again, it doesn't even have anything to do with the genetics, it's cultural influence. For example, I used to work in a mental health facility for girls, right? And all but one of the girls was bisexual. So we would have like a unit full of, in my unit total, right, there were about 40 girls, but then we had them like separated depending on their ages. And there was only like one of the teenage girls who was like, I'm not gay, I don't get down like that. All the other ones were like, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm bi. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that, first of all, they're in an environment where they have no access to boys at all. And then you see all the other little girls doing it. So now, whereas you might not have been before you got here, now you're claiming to be a lesbian. You can't tell me just by coincidence we had a group of, 40 girls and 39 of them all just coincidentally were genetically lesbian. That doesn't make sense mathematically.
So, like animals, you know, have a tendency to want to survive, right? We want to survive. So our environment, we have to cope. We have to, you know, amalgamate into whatever we're around to survive, right? So if the socialization is, I gotta be, with another girl, then you're within the group. You know what I'm saying? So that
Yes.
one girl might have enough strength to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna get down with it. I don't need to be friends with all of them. You know what I'm saying? I can be friends with a couple of girls and that's it. I'm good. But
Yeah, and
but
she had that
going,
attitude.
but let me bring up let me bring up a phenomenon that I've heard a couple times. So you know how walking down the street as a black man might be detrimental. The police might pull you over or something like that, or want to search you. So this comedian was saying, I was walking down the street, the police was scoping me, so I started switching, like he was gay, and the police drove off and kept going. So I think there's this tendency like that black men are going to start acting gay more to be ignored and not looked at as a criminal.
I could see that because I'm gonna say this, like gay men in general are just seen to be more like possess more feminine traits. Um, Like, rarely do I ever, I mean, it happens, but like most of the time when I see gay men, they're like more responsible, or a lot of time they don't be broke, they be having money.
But
A
they don't
lot of
look.
the time,
They don't seem as much as a threat, right?
well, I don't think. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it's they're not seen as much of a threat, but I don't think that they're not seen as much of a threat on the strength that just that they're gay. I think it's their overall behaviors as well. I think gay men tend to behave more like just more femininely. They tend to, most gay men that I know, they go to work. They don't, they might get in a little bit of drama, gossip, but they don't really be in mess like that, so they're not, you don't really see them getting into it, with police or anybody like that. I think overall people just in general perceive gay men as just less threatening just off of the strength that they're gay. But then I also think that's coupled with the behavior as well. Gay men tend to act more like women, and police are not afraid of women.
Exactly. I had a gay man tell me that the other day. He was like, "Yeah, I ain't got to worry about that because I'm gay." And I was like, and it was funny because I heard somebody else say, that it's not as much as a threat. Not that I would do that because police really don't accost me like that. But I don't know, it's a
Yeah.
trip. Like that's a phenomenon that's going on, and you see in the past, 10 years, more men coming out like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think it's because they get more rights and they get treated a little bit with more sensitivity. A lot of men I think lack that sensitivity in the society. So I think that's one of the things that they're doing to get that. You know what I mean?
No, I could see that being the case. Like, I could absolutely see men just saying, I just want to opt out. I hate to say it this way because I'm not trying to imply that gay men don't have masculinity or that they're not men. But I could just see men saying, I don't want to be, life is so hard that I don't want to be held to the standards that a straight man is held. So I'd rather just opt out of that life altogether and live as a gay man with the societal expectations that come with that. Ironically, though, even though the societal expectations for responsibility are lower for gay men, I will say that even though they don't, a lot of like, and I'm talking about these dudes who's gay, Sashay, Shantae, like they gay, like they're out here making moves, making money, and I think they might be doing a little bit better because it's not as they don't have as much pressure on them. They can just kind of do their own thing, but
Hmm.
they out here, exceeding in terms of financially. A lot of them are. I'll say that they be on it. They be hustlers.
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
I want to address this comment. So Southern Belle says agrees. How can an infant be born with anything they learn through their environment? Well, I don't agree with that, Southern Belle. That's not. I mean, scientifically, it's both. So I don't know if you have kids or how many of y'all on here have kids, but there are just certain things that your kids were like born with. Like that was not environment, especially like certain personality traits. Like my daughter, she is very strong willed and determined. And she was like that when she was a baby. I know that sounds crazy, but she was. I remember us being in the doctor's office and the doctor was trying to hold her down and give her a shot at 6 weeks. At 6 weeks. And the nurse, at 6 weeks, and the nurse was like, oh my God, this is a strong baby. Like, she's getting so much resistance. Like, this just was in her, So I think, and it's not just my thoughts. It's just, that's just the science of it. It's both. And I think we try to make sense of it, right? Because it does seem like such an anomaly. I think we have different judgments about it, especially based on whether it's male or female. To be honest, I feel like most people are just more repulsed by the men who are homosexual because how we view masculinity as well as the activities, you know what I'm saying, that a lot of them engage in are just repulsing to. I'm just being honest, and I don't know what other way to say it because I don't want to make gay people, like, I'm not trying to demonize gay people, I'm not trying to talk bad about them. I'm just talking about on an instinctual level how a lot of us feel when we think about these activities that go on, right? I think it's more complicated than either side would like to admit. But I do think the culture that we're in now, it leans more towards an environmental influence than anything. I think so. Okay, I think we will see a rise in the percentage of people who are gay versus, at one point it was less than 25% of the population. I think we're going to see a huge uptick in that in the future. And I think most of that is going to be due to environment.
They say a lot of the people that's a lot of a big percentage of the immigrants are coming from other countries in exile because they're homosexual. So the
That might be true.
United States, represents a beacon of freedom for people of all types of, creeds and things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I want to address this. So Southern Belle saying, Mariah, honey, that's not true. It's all types of gay men, including thugs. No, okay, so I'm not trying to say that all gay men are flamboyant. I'm just saying the general stereotype tends to be that they're more, they just act more like women. I don't even know how to explain it. Even if you talk to the ones who are not as flamboyant, like they're masculine and they dress regular, even if you just talk to them, they have communication skills that are much closer to women's. Like, they're more understanding, they're more empathetic. Am I saying that's true of all gay men? No, but I'm saying there's something there that even if they're not super flamboyant, that makes it easier for them to, like, kind of connect and handle their business in the way that women handle. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to come off as ignorant. Okay, y'all. So I think I'm going to, cause I've been on here for 3 hours and 22 minutes. Oh my God, this was a really good live. I didn't expect it to go the way that it went, and I really do appreciate everybody for participating and tuning in. Um, Juicy Fruit and D Mally, did y'all have any remarks that y'all wanted to say before we close this out?
Go ahead, Juicy.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say, no, this was, I thank you so much for allowing me to come up. I'm glad that I came across your channel. I'll definitely sub up and, be looking out
Yes.
for more lives. I like your content. I like how you run your house over here. So thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me. Yeah.
Thank you, and I appreciate you for coming up. Yeah, I just try to make this a space where, like, people can come and just give their opinion and not be attacked or anything. Like, I genuinely believe in, like, free speech over here. You feel me? We're all adults.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that. So thank you so
Yes,
much, and
ma'am.
thank you to
Thank
the
you for coming up.
yeah, and thank you to the gentleman on the panel as well. Thank you.
Yep. Thank
Thank you.
you.
You have a good
Thanks for
night.
coming up. It was good to have a perspective, from both a male and female. With Mariah sort of being the moderator, you know what I mean? I see the channel growing, so that's good. I hope some people got something out of it. Um, and hopefully we could do it again soon. I appreciate you, Mariah.
Thank you, and thank you for coming up. D Mally, he always pop in, so I really appreciate it, y'all. Yeah, like, uh, we're growing, and I'm gonna remember all this love right here that I got early on. But yeah, guys, I will catch y'all again next week. Probably Saturday or Friday. I'll try to let y'all know early. And then I have a couple of pre-records coming this week. The one that I think y'all are really gonna like is why I moved out the United States. So be on the lookout for that. But okay guys, it was nice talking to y'all. Y'all have a good night.
All right, peace, y'all.
Peace.
Bye bye.